Proud passing winters, a mother of children, Yue mourns for her dead across the land. Flesh of her flesh they were, spirit of her spirit, fallen in the cause of the free. The deception of war, everybody. The deception of war, and casualties, and loss, and sacrifice, and... Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get so super philosophical, guys, but honestly pretty necessary. Hey, what's going on? Lucky Cheese 7 is back again after... Oh my god, it's been a long time. But yeah, another My Hero Academia podcast. And y'all know the drill. These podcasts can't be done by themselves, so... I mean, technically I could, but it wouldn't be any fun. So I brought with me some special friends and special guests with MangaReader.
Special guest? I didn't know you were treating Blue as special. Hi guys, it's me, MangaReader.
Hello everyone! BlueStarSaber once again to join a My Hero Academia podcast.
He's also the definitive cursed child. Let's not forget about that. And yes, definitive. It's definitive now.
Oh dear lord, you're not gonna let this go now, ever, are you?
No.
It's just gonna live on.
For those of... I'm not gonna say what, but if y'all know what's been happening in the last couple days, you can blame him.
Oh dear, boy. Oh boy, next week's podcast is gonna be a long one.
And anyone listening out there, this is just a preview of what I have. Wait until next week.
This is a preview. This is the envoy of the beginning.
Envoy of the beginning.
The envoy of the beginning.
I don't know why I was getting Blackluster Soldier vibes as soon as you said that.
Well, it could have been the envoy of the end.
Technically. Could have.
Could have been. Didn't. But that is absolutely what is somewhat beginning. Whatever. We're not here to talk Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, we're not.
It's time!
Duel.
Exodia. I win. Sorry, boy.
Alright.
Exodia, sorry, you lose.
It's like, hey, duel's about to start. What cards do you have? I've got Exodia. Oh. Anyway.
I don't know about you guys, but...
Yeah, so, interestingly enough, again, the last My Hero manga podcast we did was just me and Blue. Now we've got MangaReader, who I think, yeah, you were absent in the last one, last I checked.
Yes, he was absent.
The last time I was here was the Liberation, so yes, I was pretty absent.
Yeah.
I believe you were with us for the My Hero Academia movie, along with Steve.
Yeah.
I was. For the movie.
Question? Let's see, Steve may be able to join us or not, but we have to wait and see.
Yeah, Steve's he's a maybe, so... Not gonna confirm and say Steve will be here exactly, but if he does, I'm sure he'll chime in and be like, hey, there's a boat here in the corner, need help?
A lifeboat?
A lifeboat, yes. But, My Hero, I don't exactly know how to describe it, but I guess it's best that we start from the top. So, going into, expectations, based on how things went in the previous arc, going into this arc, which, you know what? No, I think it's fair. MangaReader, since you weren't able to chime in your thoughts last time, why don't you go ahead and share how your thoughts were from the Endeavor Agency.
Endeavor Agencies, yeah. Quick little thoughts? Okay. Well, actually, I still have that one pretty clear in my mind from the last time. what was it? Deku kind of did some things. Bakugou did some things. Todoroki did some things.
Things.
And they all came together. I don't know, that arc was a pretty good bridge to what we ultimately got. I don't know if anyone would have expected what we got, but we had Endeavor somehow being a slightly better teacher at than All Might, which was kind of weird. I mean, if you wanted my opinion of quick opinion of the Endeavor agency arc, I thought it was pretty nice set up on to learning Todoroki's family history, and then just getting some more Bakugo and Deku interactions, and also their growth as characters, basically. I mean, there's not really much else to really say about it. The start of it was the Bakugo and Todoroki, or as I guess I could say Shoto at this point too, if anyone wants to be more specific.
Since
Finally got their license. They got to stop the bad guys. They got to set up the idea that villainy is on the rise. So we gotta up the internship a little faster. So then we got so then we have Todoroki offering his hand of friendship to Deku and Bakugou, because both of their mentors are either missing or off doing other things.
Or dead.
So we got
Rest in peace, Night Eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had Gran Torino doing his detective things. We had Night Eye's agency being too busy, so they couldn't take on Deku's, I guess, internship of sorts. Yeah, internship problem. Bakugo had no idea where Best Genius was, so yeah, we all had to. We all had to figure out where to go, and good old number one hero was available, albeit he didn't necessarily want Deku and Bakugo to be there, but he took them on anyway afterwards.
He's like, I'll train you. Oh, you brought those two. Okay, fine. I'll train them too.
Shoto, you're back, and I brought friends. What do you mean you brought friends?
I was gonna say this very much, like the pacing and everything did remind me of the Pro Hero arc, and then I remember, oh wait, that was another Endeavor arc, right?
Yeah, Endeavor seems to bring some pretty good arcs with him, but it also comes with a buttload of baggage. So,
yeah.
Yeah, you had Deku essentially being like, "Oh, he's just like us," and Deku's like, "Wait, what do you mean, just like us?"
Yeah, right.
What do you mean, just like us? Quirk is his own worst enemy. But yeah, then he learned to control Black Whip thanks to all that crap. Yeah, and then
I mean, there was a bit of a time gap between the Metal Liberation arc and then this arc. Yeah. Most of that was off screen, but yeah. We like.
Hooray! The agency kind of just breezed right through. I don't really know what Bakugo learned, other than maybe better use of.
I want to say the Endeavor agency arc might have teased that he had a hero name, but he wasn't gonna reveal what it was. Was that? Hold on. Was that that arc, or was it what happened?
Well, I know that
it was definitely
the arc that we're going to talk about. It was
definitely. I think it was definitely the Endeavor agency arc.
Okay, that's what I figured. I was like, I'm pretty sure he was.
I'm trying to remember why he went with him, because I know Deku was doing it to try and learn how to control his powers better. Todoroki Shoto went to get better control of his heat flash. And I know. I'm trying to remember what Bakugou was.
I know All Might recommended Bakugou to go to Endeavor because they were similar in personality. Being
right. I think Bakugou just wanted to learn precision or better speed or something like that. I don't remember, but
along those lines.
it seemed like he got, when they put all their skills to the test against the random villain attack, whatever it was, they learned what they learned. So goody. I mean, there's not really much else I could say about that. That's I already rambled on beyond my quick summaries of my thought process. If I had to give it a grade, I guess it would be, I want to say it's probably above the Meta Liberation, but below the Pro Hero.
Yeah, that's where I said, because I know some people. I've seen a couple people say it's above Pro Hero, but I think you needed that arc first before you got this one.
Okay, I probably, based on what Meta Liberation was the last product cast I did. Cultural Festival was 1. Pro Hero was 2. I guess it would fit between Pro Hero and Internship, so I'd put the new one at 3. Internship would be 4. Meta Liberation would be 5. Provisional License would be 6, and Joint Training would be 7. Albeit my list has always kind of never been dictative of what was truly good or what was bad. If anything, it was maybe one thing just stood out a little more than the other thing, but they're really damn close to where the numbers can always shift around.
Yeah.
So, are we beginning with the actual Ritzy arc we're discussing now, or?
Well, what's your take on it? Because like coming up from the last arc and going into this arc, like expectations wise.
Okay. Well, I think I was expecting like a sort of a. Let's see. Okay, I think we were sort of expecting like, okay, it's clearly setting up some sort of big war between the heroes and the, let's see, Paranormal Liberation Army. So it's like, okay, we're clearly entering some sort of big war arc, and usually when a war arc happens, it either has some of the following things, like 1, let's see, a certain amount of characters get new outfits to be more situated for war, which, you know, like in Naruto's case, you had like everyone in the K11 dressing up in their standard, let's see, Allied Shinobi Forces uniform. Naruto technically got new looks with his chakra modes, really. They're still technically wearing the same one, really, but yeah. So there's that as like an example. And other things I was expecting were like a gathering of many different characters from like, let's see, from throughout the series. That's another thing. And what's the other things you get in a war arc? Okay. They tend to be pretty long, or at least long by the manga series standards, at least. Their respective manga series standards. And I think another thing I was expecting, to happen is, despite the fact that it's a war, it'd be considered like a war arc, it usually ends up being lasting for like at best a few days, and usually ends up being mostly 1 or 2 or 3 big battles at most. So stuff like that. That's usually what I usually expect from war arcs, given the last few war arcs we've had with like the 4th Great Shinobi War, Bleach with the Blood War, Fairy Tail with the war with the Azulu Empire. I can't remember the actual
Alvarez Empire?
Yeah, Alvarez Empire. I guess even Attack on Titan, this conflict is technically a few days itself as well.
Well, I'd argue that one lasted longer than a few days. It's more like a few months.
But yeah. But no, normally, let's see, that's what I usually expect from a war arc. New outfits. A gathering of characters. Good to see a gathering of characters from throughout the story. Mostly, despite being called war arc, usually just end up being a big few battles and all that stuff. But yeah, stuff like that. I was also, granted, I was also wondering, okay, so, given how powerful Shigaraki was, I'm just curious to see, okay, how would they take him down and all that stuff, and like...
Oh, like based off the Meta Liberation arc, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. And not to mention, what kind of war would he do? Is it going to be like one-on-one fights? Will it just be a battle royale, like, One Piece did? Or would it be like one-on-one fights like, Naruto and Bleach sort of did. Or they did for the most part, yeah.
Well, there were definitely elements, sure, but
yeah. And what like the team's going to be split into and all that stuff.
It's fair.
Also, would this Ritzy War be the final arc of the series or not? That's because war arcs often are either the final arc of a series or a saga.
Hint, One Piece.
Yeah. But so those were kind of like some of my expectations. I'm pretty so yeah. This is what I was expecting for war arc, but yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna delve too much into this. But I'll say this: I kind of took a similar approach, like I did with the Metal Liberation Army arc, where I didn't exactly keep up with it on a week-to-week basis. I kind of read it in chunks. Like, I remember reading a little bit at the beginning, and I was like, interesting. But essentially, my thoughts are kind of like, I mean, that's cool. We're in a war arc, but let's see with what we do, because like kind of like with BlueStarSaber, we've had other wars before, like the Alvarez War, we've had the Fourth Great Ninja War, we've had the 1,000-Year Blood War, and this fought, well, again, you can argue the War for Parity arc now.
See,
I think
about war arcs I think those other arcs are also being considered war arcs, like Gintama's Soul Silver arc and Black Clover's, I believe, last arc before their time skip with the elves.
See, I'd call it more of an invasion than a war, but that's just
I think there's quite a few things with that arc what I heard that can be considered to be a war of sorts. But yeah, go on.
So because most of those arcs, and I mean, granted, the War for Parity arc, I actually thought was pretty good up until now last chapter, or I'd argue last 5 chapters, but you can kind of tell my thoughts on war as far as shonen manga goes hasn't exactly been super positive. So I was like,
let's see. As far as I can tell, of all the war arcs I have read, let's see. One Piece is probably the best. Probably the best with the Battle of Marineford. No, that's more of a battle than a full-scale war. But yeah, go on.
So I was kind of I was a little apprehensive about this, and I told Blue this during the Endeavor Agency arc podcast, but I said, depending on how this arc goes and how it concludes, could determine on me coming back to doing my chapter reactions again. And am I going to do that? I'm not going to say anything yet, obviously, but, you know. So, it's not particularly something I kept up on a week-to-week basis. At least not until, I want to say, 283? Maybe 283. Or was 281? I don't know. I think during Act 2 or Act 3, give or take. Is then when I was like, "Ooh, okay, I'm interested." So that's when I kind of started keeping up with that. But I guess if you just want my thoughts, I'll just say that I guess I was just curious as to how Koei was going to handle it, given the reception every other arc's had. That's been based on war, if that makes any sense. But having said that, let's talk about the positives in the Paranormal Liberation War. And I know for a fact, based on the wiki, because I have it up right now, I know the wiki labels it as the prologue, the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and then epilogue. Do you guys want to just jam-pack everything in together, or do you guys just want to tackle it like from each segment, like as to what the pros were?
I don't know. What did you want to do, MangaReader?
And there's pros and cons to both of those too, but I mean, I guess jamming it could theoretically work a little better, but I don't know. I mean, this arc itself was kind of for My Hero Academia pretty long.
It's the longest one to date, from my understanding. I think it's about over 50 chapters.
Yeah, it overtook
Like,
the
was it
internship
like
arc.
half a year or something like that?
No, not even. According to this, let me see here because it's got the date listing right over here.
The dates that they were written.
Let's see here, December 2019 to March 2021. So about like a year and 3 months.
Oh, shoot! I mean, yeah, I did feel like it kind of kept going. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, most of that was all still like in its own little group. So I mean, I guess it really wouldn't matter if it was still kind of merged in. And just my thoughts on that.
Okay.
I mean, it's up to you guys. Ultimately, mine's just 1/3 of the opinion here.
Well, I suppose, let's see, I suppose, if let's start with some of the prologue stuff I kind of liked. Okay. Granted, you can't really, okay, maybe this is a bit, granted, maybe this is more of a con later, but one thing I did like was the little moments you had with Ochiko and Midoriya at the beginning, in which, let's see, you find out, Ochiko is keeping the All Might plushie that Deku gave him as a Secret Santa gift, but yeah. So you got a bit of teasers with, like, I think you have
That's right, Christmas part. I forgot about that.
Or at least Pinky, at least, is aware of, let's see, Ochiko having a crush on Midoriya at this point. So go on, Lucky Chi.
Now, I was going to say that what I liked about that moment is that it was, I mean, you could argue it's a little in your face, but I do like that it was kind of subtle as to just her having that and then just flashing back to that moment, because I don't think a lot of people would pick up on that.
But yeah. And I do like the fist bump the two do to each other, which is a bit funny because you see Mineta looks at it and he's like, what the? And then he just probably realizes that, okay, these two seem to be building a romance with each other, and you get like Pinky going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
I'll be like, see, if I were Mineta, I would have been like Gravity Smash somewhere else.
But yeah, so it's becoming a lot more aware. But that page is kind of showing that a lot more students are becoming more aware of Midoriya and Ochiko's growing feelings for one another, as you will, or their feelings for each other. As you also had Suyu smiling there, and Denki going like, "Nice, Midoriya." But I think the main highlight, of like the prologue for me is, the stuff with
Kurogiri.
Kurogiri and Eraserhead and DJ, as it's revealed that Kurogiri is not just a regular villain, he's actually a special, highly intelligent Nomu, and not just any Nomu. He is his corpse. The corpse that was used for his creation was none other than Aizawa and DJ's best friend, the third member of their trio of heroes from the school days. I don't actually know the guy's name. What's his name again?
It's
Shimakumo, who most people, for those who have read My Hero Vigilantes, which I have not, and I clearly need to start doing so.
Not yet.
Let's see.
It's not over, obviously.
I've already watched volumes. But anyway. But yeah, so let's see. So that character there is the corpse for Nomu and stuff. So it sort of builds in the sort of important plot points that Azara and DJ will have during the thing, and go more elaborate on the Doctor. That creates the Nomus and all that stuff. So it's setting up that little bit of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought it was a bit. We end up seeing a bit of a more emotional side to Azara that we don't normally see, as he's desperately trying to get Kurogiri to figure out, even though Kurogiri is like, is this some sort of confession you're doing or something? But we also end up learning an interesting thing, though. as we know, Ayazawa is like Kakashi, who who expels students who fail the test and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ayazawa expels students that fail or cause trouble or not good enough and all that stuff. Well, Kakashi was like, not let any of his students pass spell tests. It turns out Ayazawa actually expels the students, but then reinstates them back in the class as to give them a sort of heroic death. So they experienced a sort of loss of sorts, so they know better not to do it in the further years. We end up seeing a second year talk about how they've been expelled and bring back, but it's like, how nice Ayazawa's them, though they've kind of ruined their records for the future. So I think that was pretty good.
That's funny.
It's also kind of nice because we had not seen Kurogiri since, well, Gran Torino captured him at the end of the internship arc, or the overhaul.
I thought it was provisional.
It's the overhaul arc. That was when he was captured.
Okay.
The overhaul arc. Yeah, I just call it also the internship arc. But yeah,
overhaul.
He was captured at the end, and that's when we also formally introduced to Gigantomachia.
Gigantomachia?
Yeah.
Whose name I still can't possibly say too well. Yes.
All you need to know is he's named after the giant war in Greek mythology.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So yeah, I like that, and I like the sort of the gathering of all the pro heroes, because one of the things, like I said, expect in the war arc is just you get a gathering of heroes, and you see just about every hero you can see, like the Pussycats.
Yeah.
Let's see, manual, native, top tens, all that stuff, even minor ones that you don't think of. Heck, I think you even got some filler heroes from like various other medias. I think apparently Suryu's original internship, that sea lion looking dude from that one episode from season 2. I think I saw him in the manga backgrounds and all that stuff. So it's like, okay, nice. And you kind of see the heroes sort of splitting to teams. Endeavor leading a team to the hospital. Mount Lady and a few others, with a bunch of students, while Midoriya and most of the UA class, and other psychics are evacuating, citizens. I thought that was kind of nice. Granted, it also gives I forgot. I probably should have mentioned this in the war expectations bit, but usually when a war arc happens, they also find a way to get the main character to not be there in the center stage of the conflict at the beginning, just so they can give all the other characters a chance in the spotlight, or at least that's.
To be fair, Blue, that technically did happen in the first act of the war. Technically, because Deku doesn't technically get involved until Act 2.
Yeah. So it's like, first day of the Naruto war, you didn't really get Naruto competing Bleach. Okay, technically Ichigo was fighting, but not in the main first wave until because he was occupied in another person's fight. But yeah, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So yeah.
Yes.
So yeah. But yeah, so we got that. So I quite enjoyed that stuff from the prologue. I'm not sure if MangaReader wants to say anything on the prologue or not, but
I mean, the prologue was pretty simple. I don't think there's anything too big that needs to be addressed there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward on what happened there. I mean, nothing really I can say at this point would make any difference.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and say this. As far as the first act goes, I mean, my take anyway. But the biggest highlight for me for Act 1 was Hawks versus Twice, for sure.
Oh yeah, it's like it's very quick battle, but then again, Hawks is like, okay, I need to stop Twice here and now because this guy has become a one-man army. In many ways, Twice is like it's the personality of Deadpool with the with the ability of with Naruto's shadow clone ability, but even more dangerous because he can turn into duplicates of the duplicates he can turn into others with their actual abilities. Naruto can't really do that with his shadow clones. So in many ways, Twice could be, at least if it was just a battle between Twice and Naruto, just based on duplicating themselves, Twice could technically be more dangerous because, well, let's see, his duplicates can have a more moveset, but yeah.
I have shadow clones, and they can make more shadow clones and more shadow clones.
So yeah, I have to admit, yeah. No, I think the thing that really highlights it's even shocking. It's just the way how Hawks ends up killing Twice. It's like, my God, it's like this guy is playing for keeps. So granted, he's trying to save it, but granted, this conflict was sort of set up as Hawks and Twice were sort of interacting with both the Endeavor Entity arc and even I think the prologue for this arc of like, oh, and the hell, let's see, and they're sort of building a sort of like a buddy thing. But Twice realizes, oh no, I've let it happen again with Overhaul. Let's see, but yeah,
that was the opening act. I thought that was like. I mean, I knew it was in the opening situations, but I get what that was the first main battle.
Yeah, it wasn't the first.
I just wanted to point out that. What's his name? Denki is his name.
Denki, yeah, Kaminari.
Yeah, Denki Kaminari. I mean, for all of the people that are fans of him, he got a pretty nice moment.
I'll say that he did have a pretty cool moment.
He seemed to take on one of the minor lieutenants in the Paranormal Liberation. You know, one of the unnamed lot that was in the backgrounds of all the divisions from the League of Villains.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I will say it didn't really matter in the end, but we'll get to the negatives on that. So,
other than that, I mean, we also got that really interesting. Was it wide shot situation or far shot? Far shot, I guess, is what it would be.
Mm-hmm. One thing I do kind of, let's see, this is probably a tease for the shippers at least, where Denki was thinking of Jiro when text.
Yeah, that was kind
of. There was a standout for me on that one. Whether I ship him or not, but that was the standout.
I did think that was sweet. That was a sweet moment.
I don't know if that was supposed to set up anything, but if it was, I mean, it was good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Twice's death, I think. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that, Blue. Twice's death for sure was not something I was expecting. I was like, but okay. I expected some casualties in the war, and getting Twice's death, I was like, all right, he could probably die. But the way he went out, I was like,
it's like, especially when he's just reaching like both the masked villain member and Toga. It's like, oh, just in time, and it's like, and he was being high-fived by Darby for, I got this, Hawks fella, but too late, he gets killed, and then he's like, I gave it my all I can do is just save you guys. And then his doppelganger thing disappears. As I said,
I was going to say, like, I think what also helped was the fact that you also had him kind of take a role in the Metal Liberation Army arc too.
It's like
that focus there. I think elevated it.
Wait a minute. With all that focus, you think it's a bit shocking how he dies, but in many ways, he's been the heart of the League of Villains for many people, I think. And it's like, but anyways, in many ways, it's a bit weird having a villain being the saddest death in a war arc.
I mean, okay, I'll say this. Go in the narrative a little bit. Okay, before he came back, Obito's send-off, I thought, was good. I'll give it that. Before Susanoo happened, but that's neither here or there.
Alright. Fair enough, but yeah. So you kind of get like Toga in a bit of a mindless rage as a result of it, let's say, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up seeing her kill quite a few minor background heroes and all that stuff, but yeah.
You do.
Let's see, what else was there in Act 1? Oh, yes. let's see. We haven't got to the because there's kind of like two battles going on with this raid/war arc. The
Yeah,
one,
I was gonna say, as far as Act 1 goes, I mean, I know you technically have the fight with Murko and the Nomus, which was cool,
but yeah, let's see. But yeah, you have like sort of two battles, like the one at the Paranormal Liberation's headquarters and the hospital, in which the Doctor's identity is revealed as like this supposed quirkless guy. And his real name is Kurada Gariki, though granted, it was originally Matua Shinga, but they changed it because this caused a bit of controversy in real life, as the name is a reference to a human experimentations done in the Imperial Japanese Army Unit 731 on Chinese civilians during World War II, which the Chinese government did not like this reference, and as a result, apparently they banned the chapter, and they threatened to ban My Hero Academia entirely. But both Shonen Jump and the mangaka, Koei, issued both apologies for the thing on Twitter and changed the character's name. But yeah, so yeah, you kind of had nearly. Let's see. I know it might be a bit shocking for some people, but a name due to the sort of original naming for this like one character, nearly resulted in My Hero Academia being banned in China.
Yeah,
I
there's been
think
a
people
lot
are
of
just
things.
being sensitive, but
Let's see, but I don't think this is like the cultural. I don't think this, but this is not really. But this is not like controversy of like the culture war thing that you get in like the West and all that stuff. It's just more due to like the Asians' own sort of like history of post World War II, due to like relations with Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and all that stuff, due to the fact that Imperial Japan, invaded them before and during World War II, and it resulted in, let's just say, of course, numerous war crimes, and there's been controversies of whether or not how much Japan has fully acknowledged the stuff they did and stuff. But it's not. But we're not really here to discuss Japan's political history unless it's in the manga itself. But we're not. But it's
that's
not.
what we're turning this into now. I didn't realize.
It's not, yeah, but
Blue, you always got to make things political. Damn
Yeah,
it!
right.
Get out of here.
But no, I just thought that's some interesting trivia for like the name of this character.
Enjoy your trivia, folks.
Case in point, guys. People are too sensitive.
Let's see.
Japan, China can't grow up.
Let's see. Okay. Well, we've probably just gotten this podcast banned in China.
Hooray!
Blue.
Who knows? But anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah, I do like how we finally get a bit of what the Doctor does in like real life. It's like, okay, he's pretending to be this decent man who's quirkless in the hospital thing, and we end up seeing his de-aged quirk when he gets erased. And then you have the hero Endeavor's team invading, and he gives like a very funny shocked face. It's like, ah! And then you have like the sort of rabbit girl hero fighting the higher Nomus, and it's like, okay, I'm not sure if My Hero Academia has had people complaining about how there isn't any badass female villains. Well, I'm pretty certain Koei has probably just sorted that issue out with just this one rabbit girl.
She's not a villain, though.
That's it. I'm sorry, what?
You said a villain.
I said rabbit hero, my mistake.
I was like...
Rabbit hero.
Yeah, it's like, who would have thought that a rabbit hero would be... but who would have thought a hero with rabbit powers would end up looking so badass?
Who would have guessed?
Mm-hmm.
Not me. I sure wouldn't have. Not me. But,
let me think. What else did we have in Act 1? There was a whole lot besides that. I was going to say that I don't think there's anything super positive after that for Act 1, but I know for Act 2... Ooh, and this is where I started getting super excited, because when Shigaraki...
Your boy.
when he got out of this containment, I was like, oh. Yeah, guys, I wouldn't mess with him right now. If Meta Liberation Army taught me one thing about Shigaraki, is you want to be away from him, like miles and miles away.
Miles and miles. I'll go for miles and miles.
I was waiting for someone to make that joke.
Unfortunately for the minor hero X-Eyes or something, he's a minor hero that's actually in the internship arc's raid. I'm not sure if anyone remembers him, but apparently I ended up looking it up on the wiki.
Oh boy!
Because yeah, so like I said, this arc is full of a lot of cameos from like previous arcs and that stuff.
But yeah, so to me, Act 2 I think is where it really started taking, like again, Act 1 was more of like stuff on other characters. The biggest highlight on that was more so Hawks and Twice than anything else. But when Shigaraki started coming into the picture, it did kind of set a course for what we were getting with this war arc.
This is where it's coming. This is where it's coming.
And like with the Meta Liberation Army, you get to see just how much he's able to do.
Oh yeah, it's like yeah, and it's due to he's even more powerful than I think he was then. It's like now anything he touches and then the things that it touches, he crumbles to dust, and as a result, you get a bunch of minor heroes die, but the biggest death amongst them is when Aizawa looks like he's about to bite the bucket, but then Crust ends up lifting him up, and he ends up doing a self-hero sacrifice, crumbles to dust. And if anyone
I was going to say that I wouldn't call Crust a major death per se, but I did recognize him from the Pro Hero arc. So
it's the first. It's probably if you didn't like me recognize well, granted, I didn't really recognize. Looked on the wiki. Apparently, that minor hero that was killed, that was in the internship arc or the overhaul arc, if you will. This is the first known hero that people knew that died. And it's like one of the top 10. So it's like Shigaraki just killed one of the top 10 just from the one away. So if you want to hype up something, this is the way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the real hype might have been actually killing someone super important, but yeah, I mean,
I would have said that. Like,
that's like a taste, like the sort of taste.
Still makes sense.
But yeah.
I was gonna say, like, okay, if you did actually kill off Aizawa, I would have been like, oh my god.
All right. One thing I think granted, this might be a mix of both Act 1 and Act 2, is that with the Doctor,
That's Act 1.
Yeah. Let's see, you can't have DJ punching him as a well-deserved, this is what you did for doing to a friend. And we end up learning a bit more about why he's so loyal to, All For One. It's because he made the sort of theory that was talked back, I think, during, the little mini arc when hero, Bakugou, Shoto went to the sort of extra classes for their exam arc thing because they failed in all that stuff.
The remedial course?
Yeah, where there's sort of theory about quirks becoming more and more powerful. Paranormal theory or something?
I kind of forgot too, but go on.
But the theory about, as people start mingling, doing as Mother Nature insists, quirks together, becoming more powerful, and as a result, society will collapse and eventually, due to the overwhelming of power, due to bodies cannot keep up, human evolution. Apparently, he was dismissed as a madman, but the only one that believed him was All For One because, given his abilities, he would want to, since his ability is to steal quirks, he would want to know how this would affect his body and stuff, so as a result, he became loyal to him, and he ended up giving him a copy of his quirk, Life Force, to All For One, and then was able to eventually create his own copy to give to Shigaraki. Sorry, go on.
In hindsight, I don't know why they even laughed him off in that. That was kind of a lame story, because it's like, why would anyone not think that maybe quirks would kind of evolve beyond what they
I
were
think it was
intended?
Yeah, that is true.
from from my understanding, it's due to the time of how chaotic society was. They don't want doomsday scenario theories. But it's like,
Well,
Yeah. Well, they got, yeah.
that is kind of funny now that they say it.
No doomsday theories, but wait a minute.
It's like, oh no.
Oops. But no, I mean, now that you mention that, and I kind of forgot entirely about that, I guess that's now wow, that's actually a theme then that was throughout. Damn.
Yeah, it kind of was. I'm kind of realizing that too.
Good thing you
I mean-
reread Blue, because I totally I forgot all about that.
I mean, does that somehow make the 6 quirks actually a bit viable now? I want to say maybe.
oh yeah, I think one thing we forgot to talk about in the prologue arc is All Might going on about the previous users' quirks.
Yeah, that was the thing too.
Bakugou talking trash like usual.
Well, yeah, which I should say, I know at the beginning, especially during the famous joint training arc podcast where I roasted Blue for cursing.
Oh yeah.
Y'all know I wasn't the super biggest fan of the whole 6 quirks idea, but after
Nor was For Life.
yeah, but after seeing the explanation, like, okay, they're not powerful quirks, they're more like secondary support quirks. I was like, well, okay, I guess that's not too bad.
Yeah, we still don't know. We still don't know where the super strength came from, though.
Yeah, I have to wonder about that one too.
Just curious if that was really supposed to be one of the initial parts of it or whatnot, but oh well. It is what it is. But yeah, now that you brought up that point, it's like, wait a minute. Maybe this guy did actually plan some things out a little better than we thought.
You're right, because I know on the surface, like, it was like, wait, that kind of just came out of left field. But I guess if you're bringing that up, it is a little better.
That, or he's very good at tying in the stories together with stuff he's just come up with.
I mean, again,
Flying on the seat of his pants, Toriyama style.
I mean, I was going to say that I do kind of wish it was kind of shown more than it just being referenced, but, you know.
Neato. Neat. Fantastic. Alright.
What else happened, actors? Okay, we got Shiguraki Awakening, and then we get this big battle between Shigaraki versus Deku, Bakugou, and many of the pro heroes that are there.
Yeah, Aizawa gets in there gets in the fight for a little bit.
With
I think Endeavor gets a little bit of a spotlight.
Some of it. Yeah. Let's see. We get.
I believe you had Manuel backing up Aizawa with watering his eyes. So yeah, you know, Ida's mentor.
It was to shut off, which I'm surprised that Aizawa's quirk actually was capable of shutting off One for All. Or All for One. Yeah.
Well, remember, it did shut off Midoriya's One for All.
Yeah. Yeah. It did shut. Yeah, it did. It just seems kind of crazy how stupid powerful Aizawa's quirk actually is.
It's probably why his eye conditioning is a thing that has become as a way of depowering and making sure he's not too OP.
Well, I think I said it in the Meta Liberation arc, is that it's kind of interesting that for every quirk available, it seems like it's just an extension of one's being. So obviously, him having dry eye from that situation kind of would make I mean, if you leave your eyes open too long, obviously that would make sense. But yeah, it's so weird that people can be so overpowered in this series and yet not at the same time.
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
One thing I do kind of like in the battle is that the dragon lady from the internship gets some stuff to do as well. So it's like, perhaps Kohei realized, okay, people complained to me how we gave, the girls no love in the internship. So now I'll give something for all the girls to do in this arc.
I mean, I'm still waiting for that Nejire flashback to know her importance to the dynamic, because
Sue didn't do anything, guys. Sue didn't do anything. Frog Girl did nothing.
Oh, Froppy.
Yep. Froppy, why are you there? You're other than fan service. Or being a fan favorite. Whichever it is these days.
Frogs. That's the explanation. Just
frogs. Briggs.
Let me think here. What else happened during Act 2?
Let's see, I'm trying to think. Okay, you had, Shigaraki Awakening. Due to Shiguraki's awakening, he activated, he also ordered, Gigamakia to come gather all his friends and all that stuff and come to him, and activating near high-end Nomus.
Yep, that did happen.
So you had like a big, this huge battle where you had heroes with Mount Lady, and Midnight, battling Gigamakia, in which eventually all the UA students, both from Class 1 and Class B there, eventually taking on Gigamakia, which is, I think, was probably one of the reasons why this character was created, because, Koei probably okay, I've created, 20 or so characters that people are going to be following throughout the series, so, I can't make, 20 or so villains to, just to give them all one-on-one fights, so the best thing I can do is create one big, super powerful villain, so that all of my characters can fight together and stuff. Because, shonen laws.
Laws.
I'm curious how All Might ever beat that guy. If he ever beat that guy.
From what I can,
That is a very fair question.
From what I can gather, given the fact that Gran Torino had no idea this guy existed, I don't think even All Might knew. I think he was, because it's clearly that, he was probably a secret bodyguard.
Yeah, that seems totally insane that All for One would have someone like that on hand and never once have him see the light of day.
Well, it did use him.
It is strange. That part did always kind of stick out. Really,
Well, remember, he was hunting individual heroes on All for One's orders in that flashback with Red Riot and Pinky and stuff, which
Yeah.
Here, because two of the main characters that are highlighted in this fight, besides Momo, who's leading the students, because she's
bigger from that one. Yeah.
Let's see, but yeah, he's gotten even bigger since apparently then. But yeah, is that Ashio and Red Riot play a huge role in trying to take him down. So yeah. Now, apparently the way they do it is technically against the law, where they have to sedate him, but due to the fact that they're treating this as like a war, it's like desperate times call for desperate measures.
That's so weird that sedating someone isn't considered a heroic act.
I don't know.
These laws are so weird in this universe. Like, wait a minute, you have to be registered to be a hero, and then if you're not, you're considered a villain, and then you have to, or vigilante or whatever, but you're frowned upon if you are a vigilante, and then.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the sedation thing might actually be a real-life Japan law or not. I'm not sure.
Could be. And I'm not saying that it's not something that would still make sense, but it just seems so weird how topsy-turvy this hero society is, because again, I mean, heroes are based on popularity somehow. So that's where your ranking comes in. Or, I guess, number of heroic deeds. But then again, I honestly think Endeavor had more heroic deeds than All Might, but All Might was still considered the number one. So I feel like it did come down to popularity of sorts. So, weird-ass society.
One thing I think we probably sort of looked at. Look, granted, this might have been in Act 1, really, but let's see. Tokoyame, who was a student under Hawks, ended up rescuing him from Darby when he apparently revealed something to, Hawks, because of all the villains that Hawks was investigating, Darby and Shigaraki identities are the only ones he could not figure of anything, but it seems like Darby told him, and we'll get to that a bit later when we actually get to it. So yeah, which is a bit interesting because this bit here is Darby doesn't really, because Darby reveals he doesn't really care too much about the League of Villains or Shigaraki. He's mostly following Stain's ideology, though from the looks of it, only for his own needs and stuff. But yeah,
Stain. Man, that guy sure seems to stick around quite a lot.
I know, right?
Well, he is probably one of my hero's most popular villains.
And one of the first major ones that wasn't originally introduced. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah. We pretty much have, though granted, while it was good teamwork with the heroes with the Class 1A students, sedate Gigamaki. Unfortunately, not enough to affect it straight away, and he's then heading towards Jakku City, where Midoriya and everyone else is. Both the heroes fighting Shigaraki, and the Class 1A students are evacuating students and stuff. So he'll probably get. So there's quite a few things there. And I think during this time we end up learning that the Nomus are based off of Gigamachia. Which
That's
I guess
not too far out of the realm of possibility after seeing how they appear and everything. So I was like,
yeah,
I could see it.
It just seems. So they're given quirks, just like One for All did, but then they're based off of Gigamachia.
Well, Gigamachia does have multiple quirks himself, so.
Yeah, which we have no idea what those multiple quirks are, other than the fact that he has ridiculously high stamina. Now, is that based off his size, or is that literally a quirk? We don't know.
I know. Also, during when Shiguraki awakens, we get another type of Nomu called near high ends. Nomu just as dangerous as the high ends, but do not have the individual personalities and more obedient like the normal type of Nomu. Which play a part, and I think one of them ends up biting a native's arm off or something. For those who don't remember, that's the hero Stain almost killed before Ida showed up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get quite a bit of a. Let's see. So what other pros are there for this arc? Out of curiosity.
Well, we're just going into. We're only talking about Act 2, but I guess in terms of other things, I'd probably say Act 3.
Let's see. All right, that's one thing I've forgotten that happened during the fight with Shigaraki. Awazama got his leg cut off.
Well, he had to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, he had to do that.
Stupid plot bullet.
Go on, MangaReader.
I just said stupid plot bullet.
Oh, yeah. That was kind of... But no, the bits with Deku and Shigaraki, actually, that was pretty nice. The first time around. I did like that fight. That fight was pretty good. And finally, we got something. And Blue knows what I'm referring to because it's been oh my god, my biggest gripe with the saga so far. Ochiko getting a bit of spotlight again.
Oh yeah, it's like let's see, as like the League of Villains arrive and all that stuff, we start to get a few one-on-one matches kind of thing, and finally, let's see, the long teased Toga versus Ochiko rematch happens.
I was just glad we were getting another fight because
This is her like first solo. Now, granted, she has done fights before. She was part of the Class 1 Ace fight against, let's see, Minero. She was fighting with the Dragon Ladies group against that one member of Overhaul's gang. Though that was mostly off screen. And there was also, she was also in the 5th round of the joint training arc thing, and I think she took out 3 of the Class 1A stuff there, including the copycat dude, the one that's always hating on Class 1A. But unfortunately, she hasn't. But those have mostly been minor skirmishes and all that stuff. It's not like a solo one-on-one fight like with like her, like when she went up against Bakugou in the sports festival. So yeah.
But by the way, and I can't believe I'm going to be Mr. Exact here when I do this. Over 200 chapters. Let's just say that.
Yeah, which is a bit of it's insane, but then again, it seems to be a common thing with main heroines where they get one major fight, and it takes them like a few hundred chapters to get another fight again. But
Black had it so well there for a while.
But I suppose this is one of the reasons I've kind of had hope with Ochiko, where let's see, over some characters like Sakura, where let's see, with Ochiko, it looked like she was set up to have a sort of rival arch nemesis in Toga. Since Toga also had feelings for Midoriya and all that stuff. So it's like 2 different kind of loves for Midoriya. It shouldn't really be a love rivalry between the 2, but there's a connection between Toga and Uraraka due to the fact they encountered each other with like the summer
camp arc. Yeah, the summer camp arc.
Here we are.
Yeah, so it's like at the very least, Ochiko had a villain that was built up to fight her, compared to like say Sakura and Rukia. I guess sometimes Nami, maybe, I guess. Though granted, Nami does occasionally get to fight, but yeah. But mostly
Nami predominantly does get her chances to fight, so I wouldn't really count that one.
But yeah, but like Sakura and Rukia, they don't really get villains built up to fight them. So you'd have to be lucky to see what's going to happen in the future with them.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Rukia was treated far better than what the considered main heroine of Bleach was.
Oh yeah. Well, you could argue Rukia was the main female.
You could, but Shonen Jump seemed to have different opinions when they did those main heroine summer and Valentine Day things.
There's that.
But either way, but yeah. So with Ochiko, like I said, there was a bit of hope. And one thing I kind of like is how Toga goes on. Let's see, the last arc with the Metal Liberation Army, because granted, Toga seems to get more solo fights than Ochiko, but she went on about how she ended up using Ochiko's quirk with her transformation abilities to kill someone, and that kind of horrifies Ochiko. Because where it's like, you used my quirk to kill. Now, Toga wants to, of course, have some sort of connection with Ochiko, but Ochiko's like, I just want to stop you. Kind of thing. So, granted, the fight, granted, Ochiko doesn't beat Toga in the end because she escapes once Tsuyu comes to back her up. So it's sort of like that.
No, but I'll say this. For a fight that she's had to deal with on her own after such a long time, I think it's a pretty good fight. I think. But
yeah.
What about you, MangaReader? Like, how did you feel about the Ochiko and Toga fight?
I know I ended up sending you both the preview for that chapter, and it was like, whoa, wait a minute, she's getting a moment? Holy crap!
Oh yeah, because I was like, wait, what the hell happened?
Yeah, that was
Mhm.
pretty funny. It's like, wait a minute, Blue finally got his moment. I was maybe a little let down with just how short it was. I mean,
I'll admit it was kind of short.
I
But
think
yeah,
literally it was one chapter, wasn't it?
yeah, it's
Unless
like
it bleeded over, but I think it was like literally the main focus was in the one chapter, and then I think it, if anything, a part of it bleeded over. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was essentially just like one chapter. It's like, damn it!
You were like, why?
You teased us. You teased us. Damn it.
oh well, it did something. I
It
guess.
set up. I don't know if it set up anything, but at least it, like you said, it was pretty interesting in that she wanted Toga wanted to know Ochako's resolve because she wanted to know if heroes would be put if put under stress if heroes would actually kill just like villains. She wanted to know if Ochaku would be pure. I don't know. That's what it was kind of hinting at to me or something. So I don't know if she found her answer or not, but I know Ochaku basically said, "No, I'm just gonna take you in no matter what. Not gonna kill you." And then the only thing that was kind of funny was the using of the Deku keychain against her. Other than
That was pretty cool. And I did like that. I mean, I guess you could go back to that chapter with her helmet falling out, being like, oh, okay, I guess you could say it's kind of subtle. Like, oh, okay.
Subtleties. No, but other than that, I mean, yeah, it was cool to finally see something again. But
You wish it could have been
just
more.
like
Yeah,
just like all of Uraraka's current anything involving her, it was a little short compared to what would have been higher standards.
admittedly.
Another thing I kind of liked. Well, kind of not sure this was in Act 2 or not, but granted, Yen and Gran Torino severely injured against Tomo Shigaraki. Thinking back to the choice they made.
Technically, Blue. I think this is Act 3. That's what we're in right now.
Okay,
That would, I think, pretty sure that is Act 3 at that point.
Yeah,
but okay, it is Act 3, so you kind of get Gran Torino injured, and then you're thinking like, let's see, given her what it like Shimura, Togura Shigaraki is like, he's thinking to his like a friend Shimura, we made the wrong choice back then. Let's see, of like, let's see, just distancing her from her son, which eventually led to him being not so nice to her grandson, which in turn turned him into a villain and all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, dear old dad was pretty not so dad-like.
yeah, like.
Oh, dad. Oh, father.
So yeah, you got that, and during the battle, you kind of have Midoriya learning like Shimura's quirk, float. So now,
Which, speaking of another moment, it is kind of where we see Ochiko teach him on how to control.
We had Zero, Froppy, and Ochaku because of Black Whip, and then he was going to try and learn Float or something along that matter.
Yeah. I remember telling Blue when the Float chapter came out, I was like, is it just weird? Did that just kind of come out of nowhere? Just like with Black Whip.
Everyone expected if Float was going to make its appearance that Uraraka was going to have some relevancy to it.
Oh, yeah.
Given
I had no doubt about that.
Similarities in that. But then again, we had Sarah's.
Yeah, but I do kind of like how during the flashback with that training thing, Midoriya's hair's all fuzzy because Bakugou keeps blowing Deku up.
Afro Deku.
With leading to, I think, Ochako saying, Bakugo, why are you always such a jerk?
Yeah, which, funny enough, does lead into some interesting development for Bakugo's character too. And then, actually, I didn't really think about it until Manga Reader pointed it out one day when we were just chatting, just randomly.
Chatting randomly.
Yeah, one of the things that's interesting is that Bakugo and All Might have a talk about the secrecy of Midoriya's quirk. It's like, they're going to learn eventually, you know. But yeah. I think there's a bit of an implication that Midoriya's quirk would be known to the public or by some form or another by the end of this arc, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Well, it's not just that, Blue, but it's also just everything that he's kind of just kept. I can't say kept hidden inside, but just what he's personally felt about Deku. Like, you kind of get more of it during that conversation, which I think is interesting, because I know Manga Reader pointed out to me that, like, you know, if you really think about it and go back to every little interaction, like, it's like a slow burn with Bakugo.
Yeah, Bakugo's a little over the edge when it comes to his how he actually feels about situations.
Mm-hmm.
I think where everyone says that they didn't have a friendship, and I'll admit that in terms of flashbacks, when it comes to them, anything involving the two of them typically ends up being negative.
Yeah.
At least in Bakugo's, I don't know how I want to phrase that, but I understand that people probably feel like Midoriya has no reason to be Bakugo's friend, because it never seemed like Bakugo gave any type of care in the world about it. But I think they showcased it pretty well when his quirk enveloped, that it wasn't just because it wasn't like he was trying to be a jerk. It's just that all the praise he was given as a kid kind of made him feel a lot more empowered, so it made him feel superior to others. So the fact that Deku would consistently like do anything just by being quirkless kind of pissed him off, essentially, being like, wait a minute, why are you so special if I'm the one with the special ability or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the slow rivalry turned rivalry turned
Friendship?
Yeah. I mean, I can't really say it's to the friendship level just yet, but I think the only real flashback at the point that made it look like they were truly friends was their shared admiration for All Might.
Yeah.
So, Bakugo, it's funny because Bakugo actually has essentially the most growth, because he's the character that started the lowest in terms of personality, which is kind of funny because that was I don't know if this is what was intended, but I just remember that Bakugo was kind of pissed off about how much Deku's quirk abilities had grown, with All Might telling him that when you start from 0, naturally you get better. When you're already naturally proficient, obviously it's going to take you longer to develop. So where Deku, as a personality-wise, is kind of been stagnating, Bakugo has been getting far better on the personality scale, whereas, again, Bakugo, in terms of power set, it's kind of been stagnant. Deku's been steadily growing on that side.
Usually a standard for rival characters in shonen, where it's mostly the protagonist that has the quick levels of growth, while the rival, due to the fact of being already a naturally talented person, tends to get slower growths, and sometimes that might frustrate them when comparing to the protagonist.
Yeah.
And that I mean, that's standard, but I don't know if I've ever really seen like this level of character growth in that sense for. I mean, some people might argue Vegeta, but that really didn't. I mean, Dragon Ball wasn't really known for a story in the first place, so.
Yeah, I don't think Vegeta is a fair compare. I would argue Piccolo.
I wouldn't. I
also
can't.
made
I mean,
Vegeta.
the only reason I'm bringing up Vegeta is because One Piece, or not One Piece. My Hero Academia is, I guess, inspired by Naruto, and Naruto was inspired by Dragon Ball. So
Yeah. So yeah,
it's just kind of like the father of
the rivalry of
modern
Bakugou and
shonen.
Midoriya. The most similar to it would probably be Naruto and Sasuke, at least the rivalry during Part 1.
Yeah, like maybe you could argue Part 1, Part 2.
Sasuke didn't have any. I mean, Sasuke's character. Part 1, I guess he did have some better character growth towards the end, but
I think again, it's between Bakugou and Midoriya, between Sasuke and Naruto, is that let's see Sasuke's frustrations and eventually led him to like abandon the village and like eventually Naruto and distance himself from it for a long time. While with Midoriya and Bakugou, they were able to eventually come to terms with one another. And
Bakugou's convictions made it very clear that he was never going to be destined for, even though his brash, die kill, over the top zealousness. He's 100% a hero. That's the one thing that might be the one. I don't know how that would ultimately. I don't know where that essentially came from, because it seems like he should be capable of. But it took forever for him to be able to kind of work in coordinated situations. So I guess it just again stems back to him being
well, I think
basically praised at the early age. Well, not that his work wasn't amazing.
Well, I know that. Well, granted, this might be a bit controversial, but I say one positive thing about the joint training arc is that you got a bit more Bakugou's gradual character development, where he was like working with his classmates, in his own
Bakugou level way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like more extension from like this to this with like him working with Midoriya and stuff.
Right. But it's kind of cool to see him evolve, but also keep the charm that we're used to, I guess. I mean, maybe some people aren't big on rivals being kind of antagonistic, but well, no, I was going to say antagonistic in the way that they go about their mannerisms, but I don't know. I think for whatever reason, at least in my opinion, I don't really mind Bakugou's over the top disdain on the surface.
I think
that is more of a trope thing than anything. That's essentially what it is.
I think it does make Bakugou a bit unique amongst the rival characters, because usually they're the cold, calm, collected, stoic types for the most part. They don't really show emotion.
I just kind of like his arrogance actually stems from the fact that he can back it up. So it's kind of funny, because again, this is a guy that literally passed both versions of the exam, so he's not an idiot. First off,
no, he's not.
So he I think Midori even argued that he's a better adapter in battle than he is, mainly because Midori always overthinks things, compared to Bakugou just literally being a straight up on the fly type battler. So and I It's almost like this is now a Bakugou appreciation thread, but
well, to be fair, Bakugo's playing a major part in this part of
I know
arc.
I mean, he had one of the more part 3. The biggest positive was his self. Even though he didn't really, it wasn't a self-sacrifice, but it was self-sacrifice light, in that
he did take a blow, Jack, for sure.
Yeah.
Which I should also point out, that's also where we find out his hero name, which was Dynamite. Which I can't believe.
Is it? I thought it was like some really absurd level name, unless he just.
That's
did
what
that
I thought it was going to be too. Like I was like, I wonder what it's going to be, and then he says, "Yeah, it's Dynamite." I'm like, of course.
Is it? Because, like I said, unless there was the joke later on, just to get Genus pissed off, but I thought he made it like some really stupid long name.
Let's see here. So it's called Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite.
Now, granted, I think MangaReader spoiled the best Genus bit before we even got
to it. Who cares? We're already in part 3. People know at this point.
Yeah, the war arc's already done, Blue.
Okay, fair enough.
There's no spoilers.
Alright, fair enough, but yeah.
People know.
Okay, so I guess we should get to the bit with Dabi now?
Actually, no, we're missing one. There's one section we're completely missing out on.
Alright.
What was that section?
And that is the stuff between One for All and All for One. Yeah, we talked about the quirk linkage before during the Metal Liberation Army arc, but now it's apparent.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I feel now that you mention that, and it's like, wait a minute, that's right. We did have Shigaraki try to steal the quirk, and it's so weird to see that it actually could, in theory, work.
Yeah.
Given everything that we've been told up to that point, being that it's not something that can be done unless you will it. But that's crazy to think that I don't know if that was just an oversight or if it was just to fit the need of the story or something, but the fact that he could have, in theory, stole his quirk kind of seemed a little... And I know that sounds more like a negative than a positive, but I mean, I get co-merging positives and negatives doesn't seem like that bad of an idea at this point.
Due to One for All's power can only be given if the person passes on. You find it a bit of a stretch that All for One.
Yeah,
could
just take it back.
I wouldn't say it's too much of a stretch to believe, considering that All for One did give his brother that specific quirk based on the flashback that we got. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't be too far.
It seems weird that he would have never tried to take it back at any point, unless he never thought it as a threat. But
yeah, I think it's implied in the epilogue. But I think the reason for this is due to the strong will of the users for One for All, is that he's unable to steal the quirk. So as long as the heroes have a strong will,
right?
One for All cannot take it.
Yeah,
right. So
All for One cannot take it.
So I mean, obviously, Midoriya's willpower at this point is nothing short of quite unquestionable. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, certain parts of this arc are still. I mean, despite having read it not that long ago, I mean, it's still fairly hazy to me at times. So, I mean, if they did mention that, then that's good, at least. So,
but as I was saying, I did like that because it did bring up something you had mentioned during the Metal Liberation Army arc podcast we did, where that they are more linked than we initially thought, and because I think that's where I know that's where Nana shows back up for a brief instance.
Yeah.
It's her, and then All for One shows up for a bit too. Which, oh my god, I don't know about you guys, but that one panel where Shigaraki's face was getting cut open, and you saw his smile.
Oh yeah.
Whew. Like, I knew I got chills before in My Hero, but I think that one took it. In terms of getting choked.
One thing I do kind of find interesting with the whole all for one and one for all thing is when you like had all for one trying to take over Shiguraki's body, and Shiguraki's resisting and even having like an urge to kill him, which his master's like, "Ooh, you're trying to resist me. Good, good." It's kind of like the Sith. It's like he's talking like in the Sith way. It's like, yes, the apprentice is trying to overthrow the master.
I was just about to make that comparison too.
Good. In many ways, it's kind of like how I think you'll remember this. Just as Yoda and Palpatine are about to do their duel, it says, "You will not stop me. Darth Vader will become more powerful than either of us." It's like the master expects the student to become more powerful and overthrow him someday, but he just he embraces it if it does happen.
Yeah.
But go on.
No, I did think that was cool. No. I don't think that happened there yet. I think that's like towards the end of the arc.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So I did think that part was pretty cool. What was like some of the biggest significance that happened during that exchange? Because that's what I'm blinking on. Because I know something happened. Besides Nana showing up. I'm a blank.
See. Let's see. Okay. Just I'm trying to think.
Well, like I can say this. I know after that point, we do definitely cut the Dobby, and oh my god! No, and I was talking to Blue about this the other day, but this arc, in a lot of ways, I think to me personally, kind of mirrored the Hideout Raid arc when it came to All Might versus All for One, and let me explain when I say that. So, at the end of the All Might versus All for One fight, the biggest secret to the world that got exposed was All Might's true form, that he wasn't this big buff dude that's like always protecting people. And it was like, oh. Now, put that in correlation with Dobby, because, well, lo and behold, we all find out that Dobby is actually Toya. Oh my god, such a revelation. I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming. Oh my god. No, I'm joking, you guys. Look, I think anybody could have seen that coming. The way it was done, I thought was handled brilliant. I think.
Oh yeah, I definitely say the revelation was like I think it was pretty obvious, especially after the pro hero arc, because it's like okay, you have Toya speaking Endeavor's original name and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was the quick tease of the summer camp arc when he encountered Shoto, but it's like and there was also the stuff with like with the whole backstory of the Todoroki family and the Hero Endeavor agency stuff. I think it's very clear that Dobby was the missing elder brother, I think, given the fact that he had blue flame quirks.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I think what really worked is just the way many people I think at the time were wondering like, okay, this is obvious. Why isn't he revealing us identity, especially in the pro hero arc? But it's clear that Koei wanted to have this confirmed at the right moment, at the right time for the immediate impact, given the fact that not only how when Dobby revealed it to like Endeavor, there's also Shoto there, and the look of shock, and including with Midoriya, because I think but I'll get to this bit in a moment. But the thing is not only did Dobby reveal to like his father and brother that he's alive, but he also planned a video with a little help from one of the, Meta Liberation Army dudes. I think the guy that Darby was sort of in conflict with. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Is that he ended up, him created an edited video in which he broadcasted an all on the online, on all TV, news, laptop, phone thing, all sort of networks in Japan, revealing his identity and the fact that he is Endeavor's son, and that he has killed people with his flame abilities, but also the background, the backstory of the Todoroki family, of how much of an abusive arsehole Endeavor used to be.
Yeah.
So it's now we talked about the secret of One for All being out, but the secret of the Todoroki family has just been revealed to the world, and even the little kid that was Endeavor's big supporter is
What the hell's going on?
in distrust of hearing this and stuff. But this is one of the things I definitely liked about the whole Darby thing. Okay, it's kind of obvious that we all knew in a sense,
Here we
but
go.
The way it happened was
yeah. Not to mention, Midoriya actually knew who this guy is, so he's got the context of going on. Because
here's the thing: we knew about that based off the previous arc that happened.
Yes, but this is the kind of thing that I think, because I want to compare this to another revelation of arc, because in Naruto and the Fourth Great Ninja War, we eventually had Toby's identity revealed as Obito. Mm-hmm. And of course, it was a major shock, particularly for Kakashi, because he probably based off his ninja way off of Obito and all that stuff. But Naruto had no idea who Obito was. It's
not at all.
Yes, this is supposed to be Naruto's dark mirror, but he has no idea of the history that Obito ties into him, such as being Minato's student, the one Kakashi's teammate gave him his eye, the fact that he's considered the Naruto of his generation. And apparently Obito wanted to be Hokage and his parents are dead and all that stuff. All that stuff Naruto does not learn until he's ready to give talk no jutsu. Could you imagine that if once the mask was broken and Naruto at least heard somewhat of Obito in the past, maybe even admiring him, ends up learning that Toby's Obito is Toby, one of the biggest villains of his time, and not to mention the person that has literally set up his entire childhood and corrupted his best friend, is supposed to be the young ninja that he came to admire, that he was told about by Kakashi. I bet you certain he'd be livid, but of course we didn't get that. Now, granted,
I guess Kishi didn't plan it out as best as we thought he did.
Yeah.
Well,
it seems like he was.
I
think he was trying. I think the problem with Kishimoto is he was trying too hard to keep Toby's identity a secret. Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Koei was perhaps a bit too obvious, but on the one hand, at least, due to the fact that Deku knows the Todoroki's family history, he's able to contact, and though it's not personal for him, he's able to at least understand the situation.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The part that was supposed to be the big reveal about it was the fact that no one else knew about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
whoa, wait a minute. The number one hero was kind of a out there, kind of prickish man. Damn.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm looking at it, and it's not like he. It's weird because he treated Shoto like crap. He didn't really seem to treat his eldest son like crap too much.
No.
Well, we'll get to
it became a thing where I think Toya was just too driven.
Yeah, it was his own desire, as he claimed it to be, but it just seems.
But I think we should save this part for the epilogue stuff. But yeah.
I don't know if that's really an epilogue situation. Well, okay, maybe I guess it's the epilogue of the one.
But yeah, we do. That is technically a part of the epilogue. But
yeah.
It does fall in conjunction with.
But yeah,
because there's not really too much at the end beyond that. Because other than Dabi's reveal, I think.
Hold on, let's see, because I want to get more into the lobby. As Darby's revealing, all the stuff, you end up revealing to Endeavor that for a while he's been planning his downfall, even like the Nomu, high-end thing. And during the Endeavor agency arc, it's revealed that the two villains that Endeavor fought, including the one that tried to kill, his brother Natsu, is that he'd arranged them to try and mess with Endeavor. And he decided that, okay, he was getting sick of Endeavor getting the spotlight, becoming the number one. He says how the best way to bring him down, and he's done this public video thing, all that stuff. And he ends up mocking his father as he kind of says, "Come and dance in hell with your son," kind of thing. It's like you can clearly to see how far Darby has been twisted with his hatred for his father, for sort of abandoning him for his younger brother, and then playing his revenge by killing him, and then just before in front of Endeavor and all that stuff. And then, it's quite a bit because and Endeavor acts very much like Kakashi, is just completely shocked and not really move and stuff, and which results in Shoto trying to take the step up, which results in him getting a bit angry at Darby for the fact that he tried, due to his stunt, he nearly killed Natsu. It's like, weren't you and Natsu close? He's like, well, it seems like Darby might have some affection for some of his younger siblings, not Shoto and Mother. He doesn't care if they die if it means hurting Endeavor. It shows how far his hatred has come.
That runs deep.
Yeah. The thing that during the he also, I think we forgot. We got also Ida, and I think I'm trying to remember the female's member's name of the big three. What's her name again? Lucky Chi. Mayuri. Yeah, they join in the fight to help out, which finally gives a bit of spotlight to the one member of the big three that didn't get thing, and also more time for Ida, I guess. Darby ends up burning her, but yeah.
The only other shock in this one was we'll get to it anyway because it's coming up soon. The big shocker that everyone knew it was eventually going to come. It just seemed kind of out of the blue is where it came in at, though.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know if we want to talk about it now or if we're still talking Dabi of sorts.
I think we can talk about it now. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about what?
The return. The return.
The return.
Yeah. Of the one, the only Vermilion.
Well,
Lemillion.
Well, before Millennium, there's the return of Best Genius, as I think
Darby. Yeah, that too.
Because Darby wanted to not only discredit Endeavor, but he decided to try and discredit Hawk to the public by showing him killing twice, and also apparently revealing that he supposedly killed Best Genius, but turns out Best Genius is alive. And of course, like you said earlier, Bakugou told his name to him, which everyone thought was ridiculous. But yeah, go on. Luminium's back.
Can I be actually nah? I want to say this is a positive, but I'll get to it later.
Okay, but go on, MangaReader. Make it continue.
That was it. That was the reveal. I mean, what good or bad, he's back now. So
yeah.
I was gonna say, where the hell is Sun Eater in all this?
That's true.
I believe he was Fat Gum and got blown away by Gigamakia.
Yeah, we know. Yep.
Yeah.
Those guys were all coming back from the being injured to hell and back. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think Fat Gum found what's his name? Tokoyami and Hawks. So he was the one that was protecting him from the situation at hand.
Yeah.
Which was what the absolute meltdown of Shigaraki when he basically tries to erase the whole battlefield, the whole arena, the whole city line.
Yeah, like he levels, like
Everything is the everything. It's like, how far did it go?
That's what I was wondering. I was like, wait. Huh.
Did that happen before or after? I don't remember.
I think that was before. That's
okay.
Before. Yeah. No, but yeah, that was interesting. I do want to say that when this does happen, I think Compost. No, not Compost. What's the guy's name with the mask? I keep blinking on him.
All of the heroes have masks.
No, it's the villain.
Compress.
Is it Compress?
I thought it was Mr. Compress or something like that.
The one with the staff and everything, and he
yeah. I think it's Mr. Compress, to be honest with you.
Okay, yeah, we finally get to see what he looks like, which I was like, oh, that's
Mr.
a weirdo.
Yeah. It's revealed that, he's the descendant of one of the big-time villains that's up there with, let's see, the Metal Liberation Army's original leader, Destro, and All for One.
Which, again, and I mentioned this to Blue the other day, but it does kind of show that, yeah, there's like little small things in the saga that does kind of end up finding its way back somehow, which I think is interesting.
A bit of world building, if you will. It kind of gives a bit of character for like one of the members of the League of Villains that's there, but never really in the spotlight.
Oh yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I know as soon as this happens, essentially the villains like flee.
Yeah.
And the full battle itself does end with Deku talking about, I don't know what it was that was going on, but it looked like Shigaraki wanted to be free, which I know was gotten some people a little worried, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, that's probably more suited for like the epilogue thing, which I think we're just about to enter now.
Yeah. So with that being said, so the escape happens, and as soon as the battle's over, we do get some casualty reports. Again, the biggest death from the villain side was twice. In terms of heroes, though, I mean, yeah, there was Crust, but one I thought was pretty big was
Midnight?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and for those who don't know, if you look at the list, you can go on the Wikipedia for My Hero Academia, and the chapter specifically of when you see all the list of dead heroes, you'll find that quite a few of them are actually characters that you've seen throughout the variety of the series, such as Native, some heroes from the Sports Festival, Internship Arc, yeah, all those kind of heroes. Like, it's like a who's who. It's like where did you last meet these people who died? Also, I think about Momo Yazuro, let's see, Creati is, let's see, internship mentor, Mr. Magician or something, ended up getting killed as well, apparently, amongst them. I know it's like a bit minor, but still, it's like a death's a death.
But, yeah, so I remember when they showed Midnight's classes, I was like, oh no. That was actually pretty good. Now, okay, I know some people were like, whoa, we didn't get to see her get killed off, but I don't know. I think it works, the shock factor, like going like, oh, okay, that's what happened. I think it works, but what about you, MangaReader? What was your take on?
My take on it? I mean, it did. It happened. I mean, it's like Blue said. It was kind of implied that it was eventually. It was kind of come to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we really needed to see it at this rate. I mean, we've really only seen we've seen deaths in this before. Never really any of the heroes, but I
think one thing that kind of works from a war arc is sometimes that you sometimes get deaths unexpectedly and sometimes off screen. Though granted, Granted, most war arcs in manga don't really do this, but I think it's a nice way to show that in a war arc, you don't know who's alive and dead until you see them again.
Yeah.
Shonen sure has a way of only killing off one major character in these high stakes battle arcs.
They do. Which is...
Yeah. I guess it's a law. I guess it's a rule of shonen that you can't kill too many characters because either A, people are too fond of them, or B, you might still need them for a future down along the story or something.
And what I've noticed is that they're just barely main character enough to be recognizable, but nothing that would really add to like shock value.
Yeah.
Oh, you killed off Neji? Well, damn. You didn't kill off Kakashi, though. That would have been, like, really big.
Yeah, like, if it actually happened in the pain arc, I'd be like, oh my god.
Oh, shit, he killed off Kakashi. What the? This is real, man.
Yeah.
But, or in Bleach, you had, what's his name?
Yamamoto?
Yamamoto, but...
It's referring to Byakuya.
Yeah, Byakuga's the big one too, but I was gonna say the ice guy, I always forget his name.
Hitsugaya.
Hitsugaya, yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been like, holy shit, he killed off Hitsugaya? Damn! Nope. Because I think that zombie person was supposed to reanimate dead corpses or something. So
yeah,
it was like everyone's...
you had Rangiku.
From my understanding, Shimigamis can be reanimated into zombies even if they're half dead or still alive.
Well, yeah, that was ultimately what it was. He was half dead. So it was like, shit! He didn't kill off
if it was
a
like
major
an actual
character.
Corpse, though, I would have been like, oh, damn.
Yeah. So, so you could have killed up. Yeah, Hitsugaya is easily always one of the top 5 favorites, if not top 3 favorites in Bleach. So that would have been like a big moment if he truly was dead or something. So
apparently he is in Japan. I'm told he's not exactly popular in America and the West.
Maybe not, because again, we're kind of a little different in terms of. He's not really flamboyant, but he's just got the pretty boy look in Japan that is absolutely beloved by all. I think he's pretty cool, but obviously, again, maybe some people don't like the superfluousness of just pure looks or something like that. But
my understanding in America, they like characters more like Kenpachi, while Hitsugaya is more liked in Japan, though.
Yeah.
Japan and America, Kubo gives enough screen time for both.
Yeah, I mean they're both pretty well liked anyway. I think Kenpachi was still pretty well liked in Japan too. Enough.
He was.
So, well, I guess now it made sense. But, then you had I don't really know of any other bigger ones, but even still.
I was gonna say the only closest one I could think of outside of Midnight, which again is still pretty minor, was Crust. That was it.
Yeah.
I think you also had Native among the casualty list, which was that hero, like I said earlier, that Midoriya and Shoto saved.
But I was just thinking from main series, like they always like make this like potentially big reveal only to take it back, or of the dire situations.
Yeah.
Only to, again, take it back because of the character's popularity. But it's like, I don't know. I for once, I would like someone in any manga series to, mainly Shonen at this point, because Shonen's the only one that ever doesn't have the balls to do it. But,
yeah, like if you were to read a seinen, you know they wouldn't.
Kill off everyone.
Yeah.
If Shonen would just for once, I get it. Popularity, things will sell. I don't know if killing off a character that was super popular would ultimately prevent sales, but
apparently for Bleach, there were a few people that only read the manga because of Ukiyola. Once he was dead, some people just dropped the series. Apparently.
Oh, geez.
I mean,
which is kind of weird, because again, it's not like Ukiura amongst the Arankar was easily one of the more famous ones, but it's not, again, like the only other one was Grimmjow, and Grimmjow survived, so clearly...
Grimmjow was so underutilized, though. Oh my god.
I know. Damn you, Grimmjow. Why'd you live only to not be...
I was so excited, too. I was like, oh, he's out.
Granted, granted, this is probably more of a thing we should do for the negatives of the arc, but let's see. But even though there's some minor not enough heroes for our liking, I guess you could say, that died. One thing.
I'm not saying that it was for liking. I'm just saying for shock value and all that type of things that could.
Yeah.
But if you want other terms of shock value, is the devastation which, let's see, Gigamankia caused throughout various cities. Not just Jakku City, that was the main battlefield with Shigaraki.
Yep. I mean, it literally set up the foundation for everyone to now turn on Hero Society. So, I mean, it accomplished that goal. So,
yeah.
I guess you could say the death of the Hero Society itself was kind of like the big shock value.
Yeah.
It kind of was, yeah.
Okay.
That is one thing.
So like, you pretty much see the devastation of all these cities. Many civilians dying as you're dead or something like that. And as Ukuraka is helping like a few civilians, she ends up hearing one of the pro heroes saying, maybe I think I should look at a new job besides heroing. It's like you get like, okay, besides the death of heroes, you're getting it seems like not only are you getting like a fair number of minor heroes dead, it seems like a lot of minor heroes are also considering retiring. As I think we see one of the top 10 later, the old guy, I think number 9, was it number 8 he is? I don't know, but either way, he steps down from being a hero.
Well, yeah, again, a lot of crap went down, so...
And especially after with what happened to Endeavor, I think it was bound to happen after what happened to All Might, for sure.
But yeah, it's like, let's see, many ways, many people, apparently, from what the narration was implying, that many people had blamed the situation due to Darby's video reveal, but the fault was Endeavor's.
Mm-hmm. I think the same thing I said with the was it the meta? Yeah, Meta Liberation. Yeah, the last time I was on this with the Meta, same.
Yeah.
And I get that we're, like I said, I think positive and negatives can come together at the same time. I don't know if we would have to necessarily do positives first, negatives second, but the same. It's just like, damn. There's like 5 villains that in this whole. I mean, the Liberation Army still counts, but they didn't really do much. Again,
yeah, I mean,
5
Destro
villains.
had a bit of a moment, but even then, it was like, cool.
Okay, yeah, I was going to save this for negative, but one thing I think that ended up being a sort of negative for this arc was, the fact that, the villains that you were introduced to the Meta Liberation Army, the only ones that kind of did something was the dude, the designer dude with the long hairs that was a bit of an enemy for twice. Only ended up with doing something because he helped Darby edit the video to discredit Endeavor and maybe Hero Society as a whole. As a result, he was able to escape along with Spinner, Darby, Shigaraki, and all that stuff. While everyone else was captured and stuff. You end up getting with Destro captured, though granted he does break out from what I think it's implied, as he kills, I think, many of the people that run the hero agencies and all that stuff. The broad, Hawks bosses.
Yeah.
Let's see. The politician guy ends up being captured, even though he didn't really do anything, and apparently his political party is now disbanded. He's okay, you kind of built an arc with them. Granted, most of them didn't really get... granted, Destro ended up losing against Shigaraki, but most of them didn't really get a full-on fight thing. But it's like, you have them as, like, lieutenant commanders, but they've already been defeated off-screen and arrested. It's a bit disappointing, really, though, granted. Even though these villains here are being arrested, the This leads into perhaps something that Lucky Chi had been waiting for a long time.
I just wanted to finish my point before we get there.
Yeah.
But the whole idea was that you have 5 villains who basically came together out of nowhere, that were all a bunch of nobodies, and they're still somehow able to survive every encounter with pro heroes that have been doing this junk for years.
You bring
You
up
had
a
the
good
top-
point.
You had the
bring up
top
a very good
3
point.
at one point working together. And this was when All Might was the number 1 hero, and they still managed to somehow either outsmart or get away. How are they able to do all this?
Well, to be fair, I think it's because they were mostly helped by one awful one.
Yeah, I know that was that one, but I mean, how is Dabi able to like outdo all these all these pro heroes that are considerably up there in skill compared to him, and he's able to do all this junk despite not having been trained properly? Son of a bitch, man!
No, it's a fair point. It's a
Like all these villains are like still newbie level-esque villains, and yet they're able to outdo all the newbie heroes and pro heroes.
I think Darby is considered an A-rank villain, so he's...
I know he is because of his quirk, but I'm just saying that in terms of skill and like, how did they get all these skills then? They're villains.
Well, at least the reason why they escaped this time is because All for One took over Shiguraki's body. It was able to come out.
Again, it was All for One doing the same thing that All for One did the last time.
Yeah, it was essentially him. If it wasn't for All for One, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have gotten away.
But then again, I guess it goes to show you the extent of All for One.
All for One's abilities to be able to manipulate the plot. What is he, Eisen?
I wouldn't say he's... I wouldn't say this is Eisen level.
That scares me now. Oh my god. If that's what happens...
Yeah, we're getting into Eisen territory. We're getting into Eisen territory because he's in every flashback.
I don't think we're in Eisen territory. Just
I mean,
we're not there yet. But I'm just saying that we're edging ever so closer to Eisen.
I mean, Blue. You got to keep this in mind too. Even the movies like to reference All for One. So
somehow. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We'll find out.
Let's see. The first one, literally, he somehow gave the guy the quirk. The second one was that he was...
It was 9.
Experimenting on something. Yeah.
Okay, well, fair enough. But we'll see if he's in the third movie or not. Then you can
make probably will be.
Probably.
Oh, blimey. MangaReader. It's starting to get... Oh, no.
I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's just kind of hilarious how...
It is.
How much of a referencing situation my hero has become. It's like, well, it's Naruto, but then it's also One Piece, but then it's also Bleach. It's like, what the... Just pick your own narrative.
Right?
It's just proof that obviously stories will, even when they're their own thing, they'll always have...
I don't
think,
yeah,
it won't even matter.
Well,
you tell a story once, you tell it 1,000 times. It changes, but...
Well, that's why you had the book called The Hero of 1,000 Faces, I think.
Yeah.
Campbell, was it? Or was it The Hero's Journey? But
the Hero's Journey is obviously the true pinnacle of storytelling, so... Obviously, it just all branches out from that. So, again, everything's going to... in some way or form, whether it wants to or not, make a reference to another story that more or less tried to tell a different story, but obviously we get this. But I don't know, it just like with the meta liberation arc, it's just crazy to me that a ragtag group of villains that kind of just came together out of nowhere because of Stain, that Shigaraki kind of converted into saying, yeah, I'm going to use Stain's cause, but I'm actually going to use my own cause, was able to, either through their own power or through outside forces. And we understand throughout why it is, because again, they're the main villains, they have to be able to get through it. But it's like if they were established, like established villains in the series, beforehand, instead of these kind of newbie-esque era villains, it would just make more sense as to why they're able to get away with all the stuff that they've been getting away with. It's crazy.
I really feel like this is tying into the negative, even though we're not supposed to be talking about the positives first.
I've already said it clearly that I think positives and negatives can come at the exact same time.
Interject those two technically at the same time.
Alright, fine.
I'm not saying that it's... on the positive note, I mean, it's cool that they're able to do all this stuff. On the negative note, it's like, damn, how are they able to do all this stuff?
Like, every time, yeah.
Well, face it, let's see. We can't have the story ending now.
Okay, hold on. Like, if it happened once, I'd be like, alright, fine, no big deal. But every time?
Yeah. And it's like, I think really it's only been 3 times, but
yeah.
Still, it's 3 times too many.
Well, let's see. 4's a magic number, I guess.
I guess so. If it happens a 4, despite the fact that that there shouldn't be a 4th time, then then we're really getting into like what the heck happened here.
Well, to be fair, this time you did have some more hero villains biting the dust, because Twice died, and also the masked dude is captured this time. So
yes, we do know this. So they have lost some ranks. So at least some form of progression is happening, but it's just kind of funny that they're somehow able to keep going and going. So I'm curious to see, obviously, if what you were trying to imply with what Blue was, or she was happy about, then I'm curious to see where that goes.
Anyway. But even though, let's see, there are some villains that, that were captured or killed in this arc, we also get something that Lucky Chi has been waiting for a very long time. A prison break!
I was excited, but I was a little bummed out. Okay, here's the thing. I was excited that we got it, but at the same time I was like, it's only 1 chapter though. God damn it.
But that one chapter at least showed us not only the return of All for One escaping out of jail, but also Muscular, Stain, Overhaul, Moonfish, and I think a few others I can think of.
I'm gonna assume, okay, they didn't show Gentle, but I'm gonna assume maybe Gentle might have escaped too. Maybe.
I don't know,
he could have escaped, but I don't know what he would do in this situation.
I'm not sure
he wasn't really big on. He wasn't big on the villains.
That's true.
But either way, all these big villains in Tartarus are out. And let's see, and if you remember, and given the fact that we remember we should all remember most of the ones that I've just named. It's like, oh my god, the big villains from like multiple arcs are back.
Yep.
I'm curious by that, because I'm wondering if they'd actually work together. Like, we know Overhaul was going to do it anyway, or not Overhaul, and that was the one that I was most shocked by. What I meant to say was Muscular coming back, because he was originally part of the League of Villains anyway. So you knew he would kind of go along with whatever was planned here. But I'm curious to see what happens with Stain.
Oh yeah, for
because
sure.
I don't know if he coincides with what these villains are trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And Overhaul, well, the League of Villains practically made him quirkless when you think about it.
Yeah, I don't know how he's
tearing off his arms.
Work. Yeah, unless he can somehow, from his stubs, recreate his hands.
Yeah.
We'll probably find out, actually, though. Granted, I think Koei clearly has something planned for him.
Yeah, he's going to somehow get it, unless Eri unintentionally somehow brings him back into the mold.
That would be... I mean, I guess that wouldn't be too far out of the realm of possibility, but... Yeah.
But interesting.
I guess we kind of overlooked that as like, Eri somehow mastered her powers, guys.
Yeah.
We don't know when or how, but they did.
Yeah.
Which, okay, and I guess it's a good way I can jump into negatives for a little bit. I do think the biggest negative in this arc, personally to me, is how convenient a few things were. like Deku did. Okay, yeah, like it was cool that we got the flashback with Ochiko training Deku on like how to like be in the air and whatnot. But I just thought it was a bit convenient. Like, hey, here's the chapter of Deku all of a sudden unlocking float and back it up with the next chapter showing a flashback. And then you
Well, they
get
were supposed to be training to help him eventually learn that one next.
Yeah. and then you get Mirio just all of a sudden pop out. I'm like, oh, what?
That was not where I expected him to pop in at. I mean, I think we all expected him to come back. I don't think we expected him to come back so soon or in that situation.
Yeah.
But I guess we should be. Then again, a few months did pass between the Endeavor Agency and this one, so I suppose.
No, but I would have at least liked that. Okay, like that it's like in passing or something happens. Like maybe Mirio wants to talk with Eri about something. Like at least show that. It's like, oh, okay, that's what that was referring to. Because if anything, and then I was telling Blue this too a few months back, but it almost kind of feels like a patch up. It's like, oh, there's a bug in the system. Let's yeah. Here's a flashback.
Oops. So it kind of cheapened what was. I mean, we all knew that it wasn't going to stay permanent forever.
No.
So it wasn't like it cheapened it in that sense, but it did cheapen that we didn't really get an explanation as to why he kind of just popped up out of nowhere.
That was my thing. I was like, oh, all right.
Like, oh man, he lost it in such a cool way. Albeit he probably could have, taken Eri with him and tried to avoid the shot instead of whatever. But so.
But I guess let's see, for an arc where like the heroes are starting to get into despair and stuff, you get a little hope with like the return of one who could potentially become the number one, as well as the return of like the number 3 hero, Best Genius.
Yeah.
As a person, those two provided much needed backup for the heroes.
Yeah, Lemillion obviously turned the tides in terms of morale, and then Genius kind of just.
The one thing I'm a bit curious about, since due to the fact that he lost his quirk midway during like his 3rd year, does that mean he needs to redo the 3rd year again, or does that mean he's?
I thought he was still learning, unless he wasn't. But I don't know if it really mattered because he was already considered. He wasn't a pro hero at that level, but they considered the big 3 to be already on the pro hero levels. So it was probably like I don't even think they care.
Fair enough.
I mean, if they make him redo it, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't care if he had to redo it. But I don't think UA High really gives a damn because he's already on a high enough level to where they'd probably be like, "Yeah, we're just gonna push you through."
Okay. But yeah,
even if it matters, or even if it matters or not, who knows? But
yeah, it's fair enough. But one thing I want to kind of go back to the villains on is that one interesting thing is that, from the looks of it, it looks like All for One wants to take over Shigaraki's body, but he seems to like be willing that if Shigaraki proves himself to be strong enough, he'll allow him to become the king of evil and stuff. So it's like a very interesting dynamic there, if you will.
That's true.
we'll see if it actually comes to fruition because it doesn't seem like All for One really intends to give Shigaraki his body back, given how it seems to be a lot of All for One since that reveal.
Yeah, since that entire revelation.
How the hell does he exist in 2 spots now is what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wait, how does...
Subconscious is now in charge of another man's body, but you're still alive?
I wonder, is this like a Horcrux situation, or...
Is he thinking at the same time?
Or
I see what my other me sees.
or am I looking like, is this like Orochimaru with the freaking curse marks? Like,
It could be, possibly. This is apparently one of the most absurd quirks to exist in this universe, and now I'm curious if we're gonna have like this primordial thing where we learn that these 2 quirks existed before time itself, and this man has been alive
Well,
He's the reason that everyone has quirks.
well, as far as we now established law, that is not the case yet.
We know that. I'm just saying that I'm waiting for that to happen because it seems like, again, every manga has like this one massive reveal that kind of ruins the story.
Mm-hmm. But as far as we can tell, I can recall the first quirk to ever manifest was in China.
Of course,
maybe All for One was in China.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's a Chinese man.
I mean, there's a reason why his eyes are more so. Well, actually, okay, with the exception of the one flashback we got, his eyes are mainly shadowed out.
Yeah, and then he doesn't even have eyes now.
Yeah, so how does he look?
He said he has sensory skills, like he stole all the sensory skills.
That's true. That's true.
So he like essentially uses sonar and all that kind of crap. So he sees, but he doesn't see. So
it's like Toph.
Yep.
I think another thing that, because I remember when the deaths happened for the heroes, I remember Blue was super excited, like, oh, Lucky G, you see all these deaths. I'm like, aside from Midnight.
I mean, cool. Blue did say that they were kind of there in the background at some point, so it's not like they weren't characters that we may or may not remember.
Yeah.
Hooray! A bunch of deaths. I mean, okay. I mean, it does hammer home a point that yes, there was casualties in this.
Yeah, but
it was but in terms of shock and I'm not saying that the shock for just the shock. I'm saying shock as in how real the situation truly is.
Mm-hmm.
Only losing Midnight. I mean, I guess they can consider themselves lucky that they lost only a single teacher.
Yeah, I mean, it would have, like, if you lost Midnight and
any other teacher, I mean, frankly, if they had lost Aizawa, yes, that would have probably been like the big, oh my god.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he's legless, but I think that the only reason why Aizawa's not dead yet is because he's probably going to be teaching Shinsho for the second year.
Could be. I don't know. Well, legless doesn't mean anything. We've already seen so many prosthetics in this series that it doesn't even matter.
It's not like he won't be able to walk.
Yeah, I think from what we can tell, let's see, even though prosthetics replace like the limbs, there's still always a sense of they will not be as good as they were when they had their own physical bodies and all that stuff.
It could be, but because his skill is his eyes and he lost nothing eye-wise, at least I don't think he did. Maybe he lost one eye? I don't remember if he got scarred on one of them.
Both of his eyes were like stabbed out during the fight. Like, oh shit! Now I'm wondering how he's gonna be able to do it.
So it's
I don't remember. Did he get cut on one of his eyes, or was that? I
don't think so.
Solely okay.
But he's wearing an eye patch now, from what I recall.
Oh, is he? Then maybe he did get. I think one of those. That's right. I thought he did get slightly cut on one of his eyes. Not that really changes much, because it seems like only one eye needs to be.
Well, yeah, true. But let's see. It means that his range of vision is a lot smaller now, because it's half his vision. So that means he'd be half as effective as he used to be.
Right. Unless he's only wearing it because the eye needs healing, that could also be. But
we'll have to see.
I guess in time we'll see. Yeah.
But either way, for the time being, he's currently he's half strength.
His strength, yeah. Which still leads me to believe that I think outside of whatever their abilities are, I still think that people with quirks somehow have an increased level of stamina, like they're still superhuman, essentially.
I think that's implied, especially with the more flashier powered quirks.
Yeah, because I mean, the things that these people seem to be able to do and or survive is kind of intense. But then again, Deku, I'm assuming Bakugou held back, but Deku, even when he was quirkless, seemed to be able to survive explosions to the face. So,
well, I guess you could say perhaps, let's see, for the explosions in the face with Bakugou, perhaps it's whether or not Bakugou ever intentionally tried to kill Midori over those explosions, I guess.
but like I said, I think with society, in order to evolve with these quirks, had to increase their natural abilities. So I think even though some people might not have like super strength, they have far superior strength than what a regular human would potentially have. So the fact that Aizawa could cut his own leg off within one false swoop with a knife.
To be fair, even though he did cut off his one false swoop, he was given medical aid immediately afterwards. So it's like
we knew that would happen, but I mean, if you think about it, with whatever the knife he used, we would clearly not be able to cut through our own bone like that.
Like, granted, I will admit, it is kind of funny that this whole big ritzy build-up with, like, Overhaul's bullets ended up being used for a plot device of cutting off Aizawa's leg.
Yeah. It was, the last bullet that couldn't be used ended up, that changed my perception. I thought for whatever reason, well, it was just like Deku's blood viral thing that they had ended up getting. They wasted that on just getting Uraraka and all of them to the battlefield. It's like, whoa! You had Deku's blood and you used it to just transform into him for one measly interaction?
To be fair, they can't really use the blood to take Midoriya's quirk since he's not willingly giving up the quirk.
I know, but it just seemed like that they could have done something else with it entirely. But whatever.
But I think let's see. But from what I can tell, Toga can still turn into Midoriya, so there may be more to do with it in the future. Since now Midoriya's left UA, let's see, you can always have Toga pretending to be Midoriya just to ambush the heroes in the future. But I suppose we'll get more into that in a bit later. But anyway,
maybe.
Okay, so we've pretty much got the villains are out. The big time ones from like previous are out. We end up. Let's see. I suppose we should finally get to the hospital where we end up getting all the drama with the Todoroki family. But before that, I suppose we should probably get into the backstory of Hawks.
Right.
I mean, we kind of covered it a little bit during the Pro Hero arc, kind of.
Yeah, but we get more full story on it as Darby, let's see, do try to also discredit Hawks, though granted, thanks to the fact that this genus is alive, that is not going to likely be the case, though granted, let's see, the public at least now knows his origins as the child of a villain or murderer, as you will, that was stopped by Endeavor. So it's like a bit interesting because apparently when Hawks was growing up, due to the fact that his parents, he never actually knew that the heroes that he admired actually existed until Endeavor captured his father. So in many ways, it does explain why Hawks seems to have this sort of certain loyalty or admiration for Endeavor because, in a sense, he's the one who saved him. He's the one that's given him the chance of his life. And all that stuff. So it's like, yeah. So it's interesting. So it's like, even though he knows like the history of like Endeavor's family, he feels like it's not the same family as it was back then. So he wants to try and help them out, but also, stop the League of Villains. And anyways, but one thing that this arc does lead up to is that the thing that I think we've all been expecting to happen: Endeavor being confronted by his wife.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. It's
like, I think we've all wondered what would this kind of interaction be, but fun enough, the time when to finally meet is when Endeavor's at his lowest point. Let's see, where that he just realized just how much his own BS has affected his family. The fact that one of them has turned into a supervillain. So yeah.
Right.
So anyway, finally get a bit more of an insight to Endeavor's past with the children and all his children as appeared that initially he appeared to be like a loving husband and father at first, but let's see, and mostly had other children, mostly just as a support for like the siblings, particularly Darby when he was Toya at first, but due to the fact that Toya's flames were more powerful than Endeavor's, unfortunately for Darby, he had his mother's body, which his body was more suited for like his mother's power, which unfortunately made it a bit of a bad matchup or something. So the more he used his quirk, the more he would burn himself to serious damage and stuff, which eventually forced Endeavor to just try again with more children, to eventually went with Shelter, and would see. And Darby, at sort of a breaking point, because he's the son, eventually gets a bit. It's revealed that he ends up getting so envious of Shelter that he tries to attack him, which eventually led to apparently Endeavor's decision to separate Shelter from the rest of his siblings, and also probably started leading him to be more cold towards his wife, his children, all that stuff as his obsession took over. Not justifying it, but this seems to started the trend into eventually Toyo's supposed alleged death, which is interesting enough. Let's see, despite the family's differences, conflicts, and with Endeavor, they all agree to help him work with him at least to stop Darby, particularly with Nuts and stuff, because we all have some fault with the way Darby ended up. So now we gotta work together to deal with this family matter. I think I've said this with Lucky Chi before, and when we were doing the Endeavor Agency arc in chapter 306, and the family drama stuff with Endeavor, the Todoroki family, has definitely been the most interesting part of this saga.
It's been set in the last 3 arcs now about this whole family dilemma.
Yeah. It's this man who's number 2, who's been bitter about it, as a result abused his family and stuff. And then once now he's become number 1, he ends up trying to become the better man after a talk with Endeavor, and eventually trying to atone for his family thing. But the sins of his past have also now caught up to him. Endeavor's story arc throughout the saga, from my understanding, is a bit of a base broker for the fandom, because there are those who feel Endeavor does not deserve redemption, or he does not deserve forgiveness, as you will, because there are probably definitely some manga readers that have probably been people that have followed My Hero Academia that have probably been in a similar situation with Shelter in terms of an abusive parent. The Endeavor stuff is a bit of a base breaker, because I think of how personally this might be for some people who might have had their own problematic parents, to say the least. But yeah. So it's and from what they've probably experienced, their parents are probably beyond forgiving for what they've probably personally done to them. So it's they might just have issues with Endeavor's story arc like that. Now, granted, whether or not someone like Endeavor, if he existed in real life, deserves a second chance or not, I do not know. I think you probably get most of society rejecting it because, well, abuse is, very much looked down upon, especially during these times. But at the very least, it has made this story, it has been at least the most interesting thing to read about during this saga. At least, as you see Endeavor rise, only to fall.
This isn't just with My Hero, it just gets on my nerves in general with stories. No, it shouldn't be like this. I'm really?
Well, to be fair, I think this one could potentially be on the more personal level.
No, I get that, but if it's for the benefit of the story,
I don't know. This might be just very hard for some people to swallow. I'm just saying. I'm not condemning anyone. I'm just saying this is probably why. But yeah, I know. Let's see. But yeah. Hawks decides to and Genus decide to help out and stuff. They kind of overheard the family conversation a bit, even though they probably shouldn't. But you end up getting Hawks complimenting Shelter for some reason, which he doesn't understand why. Which results in them asking Endeavor as much as they can, and eventually also asking about one word that was said during the battle against Shigaraki, one for all. So, I think you know what's coming next, though. MangaReader, I was talking about, let's see, how Endeavor's been one of the most interesting thing in the thing. The story of Endeavor for this saga was one of the most interesting things, but also the most controversial because due to the subject of like what he did with like abusing his family and stuff, and there are some readers that just like cannot forgive that. Some might be because they might have been in similar situations in real life, but with less redeemable parents, I guess you could say. And I'm just wondering, it's like, I don't know, where do you stand on the whole story arc of Endeavor for the saga?
You know, on the one hand, it feels like they want to make him forgivable at the same time, but and also it's like it's a weird middle ground situation because it seems like they want to make him, but at the same time they want him to make him seem like he's an unredeemable person.
Mm-hmm. I think it's from what I can tell. Well, see, I think from what I can tell, it depends on the individual when it comes to Endeavor because people like Midoriya is willing to admit that he's a changed person, and maybe even some of the pro heroes like Hawk's and Best Genius, and maybe even some members of his own family. But there are clearly those in society like, look what you've. Oh my God, this is too horrible. It's like, not to mention you created a villain, all that stuff. So there's stuff like that. I think it's like Endeavor's legacy is always going to be a mixed one, which leads them to Midoriya, and then, granted, I think we should probably mention this, but we've seen that most of the UA students have quickly recovered, with the exception of Midoriya, who's sort of in a sort of coma-like trance, I guess.
Well, it's what it was meant to be, but then we come to find out that it was more so he was talking with the other messages.
Yeah, as let's see, All Might is there with him. But one thing I do kind of find funny is how Baku's like, "Don't you die on me, Midoriya! Don't you die! I won't forgive you!" Ah! Everyone's like, "Thank goodness you're like Bakugou, even though you're a complete ritzy jackass as always."
I mean, given with his little inner monologue that we got during the fight, I mean, it's not too much of a stretch to think he'd be worried.
Yeah. But yeah.
He's just learning to be more expressive. That's it.
Yeah. So I have to admit, the conversation Midoriya has with the 6 previous users is quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta kill. You gotta do what a hero must do. And sometimes that is you can't save. Yeah.
Yeah, but the main interesting thing is the fact that Midoriya might be the last user of one. All for let's see, one.
He will be the last user of one.
Since apparently, due to the nature of the quirk, while it stockpiles, it's not really suited for people with quirks, as the 4th user had it for 18 years but died at the age of 40 because the strain of the quirk affected him so much.
Which I do have to say, and I think this is why I'm getting more and more. I'm starting to becoming more and more accepting of the whole 6 thing. Now there's like actually a major repercussion on Deku now.
Yeah, I suppose one thing we did kind of leave out is that during the fight, Mikor also learned the 4th user's quirk, Danger Sense, which...
Spider Sense?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So apparently All Might had the quirk the longest. I think, was it 40 years he said? Was it 20?
I believe, no, it was, I think it was, All Might was young when he had it.
Yeah, let's see, but by me, All Might's around at least, let's see, 56 at least?
It's not that much of a surprise, but yeah.
But apparently it's revealed, due to the fact that All Might was quirkless, the quirks inside were allowed to stockpile and power and normally thing, and when they were transferred to Midoriya, due to the fact he was also quirkless, the quirks became more of a natural thing rather than a strain on the body. So, in many ways, Midoriya being quirkless is a good thing, but it's kind of a good thank goodness, because this revelation also does is debunk the theory that Midoriya had a quirk all along.
Thank God. No, but yeah, no. Again, I do like the whole aspect of, alright, so now the repercussion that Deku has is that, if he uses too much of it, it's gonna mess up his body. Even further than what it's done before.
So but like MangaReader was talking about earlier, there's like little talk about what Midoriya plans to do with Tomura Shigaraki.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go on further a bit on that, MangaReader?
I mean, that they had tried to basically use it as a test to see what Midoriya's convictions were?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. They basically tried to sell it off as that, hey, you need to kill him. There's no other option. And it's like, well, no, I think a hero should be able to save anyone, no matter how far deep they are or whatever.
I think it is pointed out that Midoriya has admitted that he still won't forgive Shigaraki for everything he's done.
Yeah.
Let's see, and he has also admitted there is the possibility that he's beyond saving and all that stuff. So he's open to the possibility of trying to at least save him, but he will also, stop him if there's no other course of action, which I think is a pretty more mature response to, like, the noble hero always trying to save everyone, because I think one thing that's often complained about in shonen manga is how shonen protagonists will try to save everyone, regardless of what they've done to them, and regardless of how redeemable their action, if they can be saved or not, if they should be saved or not, kind of thing. That became a sort of criticism with Naruto, particularly towards the end with his talk no jutsus and all that stuff. Sort of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, it's very much implied that Shigaraki could be saved or redeemed, but there's always the possibility that he's not. But who knows? But I feel like granted, personally for me, I feel like if Shigaraki was to get sort of redemption or stuff, it should be more of like the Darth Vader style by death, redemption by death, where sacrifices his life to do the right thing or something.
Nah, look. I love Shigaraki, but he's got to die.
But let's see. But yeah, that's what I said. Let's see if he's gotta die. But like, okay, if you're gonna have him a redemption, he probably should die afterwards, like Darth Vader style.
I mean, unless he wants to live out the rest of his life in prison, which could be
that as well. But it's interesting. We do get a tease of like the second and third uses of One for All, but
they're kind of just like putting their head against the wall, like, we don't give a shit.
Yeah, it is a bit interesting.
Yeah, which I think is a good spot to talk about with what happens next, because
one interesting thing to note is even though the heroes previous Quark users can see everything with Midoriya, they are at least keeping to his privacy.
Yeah, I was going to say this. Like, I do think it was a little jarring going from that into Chapter 306, where they're talking about like everything that happened with the Hero Society and whatnot, and what they're going to have to do.
But the ending does make up for it. But I do find interesting is that, let's see, during that chapter, I think you and I talked about it a bit lengthily, Lucky when we did it on a stream of mine a few weeks back, is that, let's see, All Might finally ends up, granted off-screen, tells Hawks and Best Genus One for All's quirk, the details of One for All and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So at the very least, heroes, or at least the top heroes, know about the quirk.
For sure.
Yeah, but yeah, we get the press conference in which Hawks confirms what is true about what Dabby revealed and what was false. Such as the stuff between him and Best Genus, that was false to infiltrate the League of Villains. His father was a villain, and he's sorry for keeping that a truth. And he also apologizes for killing twice because, let's see, he felt like there was no other choice but to do it because he could not save him at the time. And even though he acted in a bit unheroic way of killing someone, he felt like that was the only way to stop twice from causing, as much havoc as possible. But then it gets to the juicy part where the news people finally ask Endeavor the stuff, and when he confirms, you get all the kind of reactions you can get, like, oh my god, I can't believe it's true. Like, this dude's finished. Oh man, I can't believe I supported this guy. So yeah, every kind of negative reaction you get. With like one journalist and asking another due to what happened to her own mother being killed and stuff, it's like, how will you take responsibility? During the travel to the hospital, we see more people getting less supportive heroes and more people trying to take actions themselves. Let's see, with like many heroes retiring, let's see, most pro heroes now have to rely on their sidekicks to try and probably do jobs that they wouldn't normally do by themselves and all that stuff. So it's like, hero numbers are stretched thin while, all this chaos is about. Now, for the very least, the public does not, during the conference, the public does not get an answer of, like, one for all because they want to keep All Might and Midoriya a bit safe from the media for at least a little while longer. But the biggest thing and the biggest game changer for this entire arc...
And this is where I'm going to take over.
Yeah.
So, what Blue is about to get into and what I'll cover, I think, is the biggest part, and I think the biggest positive I can give to this arc is not just because it's the end of the arc, but this is how you end the saga. Y'all know, internship arc, going to provisional license, internship arc, culture festival arc, pro hero. It's been like, it's like, all right, all these things are cool and all. When's the next big, like, oh my god, like, what happens next is gonna go? I mean, granted, we kind of had it during Metal Liberation, but this, then this is gonna be where I reveal my answer soon. Deku pretty much said, "Fuck it."
We gone.
Yeah, I've decided to leave My Hero Academia, or UA High. Before he does leave, he does write down a letter to his classmates, a personalized one for each one. Is the fact that he's leaving, and the fact that he has All Might's quirk, and the fact that the All for One and Shigaraki are after him. Mm-hmm. Which I think for the first time you end up getting with Uraraka's personal letter from him, calling Deku a dummy, which is the very first time I've heard her call him that.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like that's just exclusive to
Tsunderes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, this is normally stuff you expect from a tsundere, but yeah. But I like it. It's because she's clearly concerned of what's going to happen to his Midoriya now. So yeah. So Midoriya leaves UA, and yeah. So it's like, which I think personally was probably necessary, because I think even though it would be nice to see Midoriya in second year, I think repeating many of the stuff that you've seen in first year, such as the sports festival, the cultural festival, that kind of stuff would probably be a bit stale, I guess.
Well, it's not just that, Blue, but even I've been saying for the longest time that you've already had too many things happen in one school year. Like that, if you've noticed, and I've said the time and time again, like a lot of the events that have taken place have been under one school year. So you got to do something. And honest to God, I think I made the smartest decision and said, "All right, let's get him out of the school."
Now, granted, we're probably going to still have stuff with the school year because we have all the other main characters at school, but
no, I think we're going to. But if you want to sit here and tell me that Deku's going to go back, personally, I don't want him to.
Yeah, personally, I don't think he will. That's like the end of the second year and the beginning of the third year, probably. Maybe but it really depends on how Koei decides to pace the rest of the story.
What about you, MangaReader? You've been a little quiet about this.
I kind of found it very much Deku-like to write everyone an individual letter.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just writing one massive letter and putting it on a damn... I don't know. Seems kind of selfish of him while being heroic at the same time.
Yeah.
I guess you could argue that this might be his hero's journey.
I mean, it makes sense.
So you're saying that this is his Empire Strikes Back moment?
Potentially, maybe. I think he's trying to find himself as to what type of hero he's going to truly be, or whatnot. But gonna be interesting to see where it goes. Not gonna lie, gonna be interesting.
Most definitely. With that said, now we can jump into. I mean, we already covered negatives too, technically.
I suppose one thing we left out that you probably might consider negative, Lucky Chi, is the fact that Gran Torino survived.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Blue.
Hardest beating of the series, and he's survived.
No. If you wanted a well-known casualty for this, Gran Torino should have died. I'm sorry.
It seems like, let's see, Corey seems to have some stuff to still do with him, but
we'll see. We'll see, because if Gran Torino's just sitting around down there and he was just survived because of popularity, I'm going to call bullshit.
Yeah, let's see. But one thing that let's see for me is that I did have a negative that I didn't really bring up. It's more of a minor thing. It's apparently one thing I kind of said is that during War Arc, I kind of expected new costumes and all that stuff. Though technically, Uraraka updates her costume at the beginning of this arc, but it's other than that, there's not anything new. But then again,
honestly, I think it's a little refreshing that they don't have any.
But then again, I suppose they all had their costume changes throughout multiple times of various stages of the saga and stuff. Endeavor had a change of outfit when he became in the Pro Hero arc, really. So, but then again, heroes are supposed to have their own individual, unique designs. So, I suppose it makes sense that they'd keep that rather than have a sort of military style combat uniform, matching uniforms, I guess. So yeah, you can't have every other character already changed their outfits really throughout multiple stages of the thing. Heck,
I mean, I will say I think the transition from the villains just all of a sudden bailing, I thought was a little jarring, but
yeah. But I think but we mostly said most of the negatives. I think MangaReader talked about how it's some of the villains escaped. Well, I mentioned how many of the Meta Liberation Army villains were kind of just quickly, mostly beaten off screen. Though, granted, I think Redetsu escaped, but
yeah,
after capture, before killing the top executive board of heroes and all that stuff. But yeah, not to mention laying down the seeds of his ideology is starting to take effect with normal citizens. And let's see, I think the other criticism we kind of mentioned before was, like I said, not enough main characters dying, but who knows? We still got one more saga from the looks of things, so we might be in for a treat.
Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything else negative-wise I could really say. Again, aside from maybe how you have convenient little patches of wait, this came out of nowhere. Oh, hey, next chapter flashback, just explaining something. You could call that a nitpick of mine, but that I think that's criticism.
Well, I suppose on the positive side, those explanations are quickly resorted to rather than just waiting another 10 chapters at least.
Yeah, I get that. At least it would have been nice to at least get a hint of it, because it did kind of just come out of nowhere. It's okay.
Fair enough.
But having said that, I think we're covered most of the negatives anyway. This is where we get into the fun part, ranking all the arcs. And here's the interesting part. Now the saga's done, so I guess we can make this our final call on where we rank all these arcs now. So, okay. What do you think, Blue? You want to go ahead and go first?
Okay, from what I can tell from the last time we did this, based on the Endeavor Agency one, I put the Provisional License first, Pro Hero second, Cultural third, Endeavor Agency fourth, Meta Liberation Army fifth, Internship sixth, and Joint Training seventh. After rereading this arc and talking about it, I think this arc might just be possibly the best for me in this saga.
Ooh.
It's either that or second, let's see, but I think it's just mostly because, in many ways, this is the Now, granted, it's interesting. Despite the fact this arc is called The Rise of the Villain Saga, it didn't really feel like this until, like, okay, it started to feel like this during, okay, maybe a little bit with the internship arc, but then it only started to feel like it, okay, now it's starting to get the villains in power with, like, the Meta Liberation Army arc, but this is the one which really does it as, let's see, not only did you get this massive war between heroes and villains, but it sort of ends in a sort of stalemate, but the clear victor with hundreds of, let's see, thousands of, well, actually a few thousand, I think 16,000 was it? Let's see, villains captured and all that stuff, or killed, etc. But let's see, but even though it's sort of a stalemate, the heroes did not succeed in the objective of capturing all the big leaders, particularly Shigaraki. Let's see, many cities are destroyed by Giga Maffia's rampage, and let's see, not to mention, in the aftermath of the battle, All for One escapes Tartarus prison with all these other big shot villains, which are causing chaos around the place. So it's like hero society is beginning to crumble. Let's see, and the rise of villains are on the move, with more people, let's see, going with the Meta Liberation Army's ideology and all that stuff of trying to defend themselves, but of course failing due to the fact that they do not have the experience to take on villains and all that stuff. So I think this arc, let's see, it's not only probably for me the best in this, or one of the best in this saga, but it's also one of the best war arcs of what we've seen, or at least arcs that can be considered sort of like war arcs. So granted. But it's considered a war arc of sorts. But then again, most war arcs do end up being just big battles in shonen manga because they don't really have the time to do like years and years and years of war. At best, let's see, a few months and stuff. But yeah, it really depends on how they pace it. But now, granted, this is still the longest arc in the saga. But in terms of war arcs, it's not nowhere near as long as some of the big ones. So yeah, I'd put this amongst what I think what people regard as like the good war arcs, such as the Battle for Marineford, Black Clover's reincarnation one with the battles with the elves and stuff, though you refer to that more as a battle arc achieved, though I think some people do refer to as a war arc of sorts, but I guess it depends on who you ask. Gintama's Soul Silver arc, even though I've not really watched or read it, but I just know because of how much you and For Life praise it. I'm sure if he was here, he'd probably say, yes, that's arc is pretty brilliant and all that stuff. So yeah. Now, granted, of course, most war arcs, in terms of like, of course, there's still like a lot of bad war arcs, like the Fourth Great Ninja War, the Blood War, and the final arc for Fairy Tail. So in many ways, yeah, this saga, like I said, it's like, on one hand, there's not really much competition in terms of quality of war arcs, but I definitely say this one, at least, is one of the better. Whether or not it's one of the best, I'm not sure, but I definitely think, let's see, the aftermath will be the thing that most people will remember in this arc, especially Midoriya leaving UA. I'd probably put it in either as the best, or at least the second best of this saga, but for now, I'd probably put it as the best.
Okay. What about you, Manga Reader? What would you have to rank? Actually, ranking this arc and the Endeavor one, since I know you didn't get a chance to rank
I think, well, yeah, at the start, I ended up saying that I'd put the Endeavor in between Pro and Internship, which would have been, I guess that would have been the new 3, and the Internship would have been 4 at the point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to reiterate again, my original list of now 7, because of the Endeavor Agency arc, is Cultural 1, Pro Hero 2, Endeavor Agency 3, Internship 4, Meta Liberation 5, Provisional License 6, and Joint Training 7.
Yes.
That is the list. As to where to this arc itself goes, again, part of me wants to put 1, just because of the how this being the very first arc to actually ever go longer than what felt like only 2 months or something like that. But I don't know. I don't know if I want to put it 1. I don't know if I want to put it 2. It would definitely probably be in the top 3 at least. It's above Endeavor, so that would make it the new number 3 if I was to put it underneath Pro Hero and Cultural. I want to say that it probably is now my new number 1, if only because of just the amount of depth that went into it. And it's not to say that Cultural Festival still might be the consent. I don't even remember the word for it. Conclusive number 1,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely 1 or 2. I'm not going to deny that that's probably where it would be for me.
Ooh, that just leaves it to me now.
Yep.
Let's see here. So my original list wasn't actually that different from Manga Readers, because my original list was Culture Festival, Pro Hero, Endeavor Agency, Provisional License, Meta Liberation Army being 5, and then Internship and.
I think it's very clear that I definitely like Provisional License more than you two, but yeah.
It's not like I didn't like it, because
No, I'm just making a joke. I'm making a joke.
It's higher up on your list.
If I had to pick, I might have to pick number 1. Honest to God, I might actually have to pick number 1. And more so because of like where it leaves off of the story than anything else. I think anyway. So I definitely probably put this at number 1 for me. Overall for this with the other arcs, that's a tough one. I can't decide that one there. But as far as the Rise of the Villain Saga goes, now that it's finished, I would say this one's at the top for sure.
I feel like most people probably put the Sports Festival and the Hideout Raid arc above this one, but that might probably be more for because they like the first saga more and all that stuff. But yeah,
which is actually a good transition over into the next, I guess you could call final segment of the podcast, which is the UA Beginning Saga versus the Rise of the Villain Saga. I know I technically had strengths and weaknesses, but we're going to cut those out just to save some time. But which one was better, and which one was your favorite?
Of the 2 sagas?
Mm-hmm.
I guess, for me, it'd probably be the UA Beginning Saga, just because I think it was it's shorter, it's also, I think, more tighter, more consistent in terms of level of quality, while there's a certain part where the Rise of the Villain Saga kind of went down a bit before going back up. Let's see, and seeing that stuff, so yeah. And I think you had a bit more of a consistent, I suppose, character growth from Midoriya to all that stuff, as well as for All Might, when his abilities would be exposed, and that stuff. Not to mention, I think you probably had a bit more. Granted, because you do have villains from. Granted, most of the villains from the first saga and also in the second saga, but I think in terms of original villains introduced in the first saga, I think Stain trumps villains like Overhaul and the Meta Liberation Army for me. This mostly just due to his ideology and just how he was taken down and all that stuff. Not to mention, I feel like you had a bit of ritzy handling of the main UA students with the first arc than you did with the first saga than you did with the second saga, because there were times when some of them felt like they were not that important to the story. I mean, particularly like Ida, you didn't really get much to do in the second saga, with the exception of a few arcs. So there's stuff like that, I think. So I think I'm more in favor of the first one, just because I think it's a more better paced and better tighter and better consistency in the story. Not to saying that the stuff in the Rise of the Villain isn't good. It's like the first saga's like the first Avengers movie, and the second one is like Age of Ultron, where it's good, but not as good as the first Avengers movie.
Ooh,
it's a very
interesting. Yeah.
It's like if I was to use a comparison.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
What about you, Manga Reader? What would you have to pick between UA Beginning and Rise of the Villains?
I gotta share Blue's sentiments. I think the first half of it probably had a little bit more consistency to it, albeit clearly shorter, but he had more characters capable of doing a couple things compared. Not that the villain arc was bad or anything, but there was just a more consistency with the Heroes Rising. Or whatever it was, Heroes something, UA Rising, yeah. I think there was just a little more consistency.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I gotta echo the same sentiment, guys. I definitely have to say UA Beginnings for the same reasons, but I think it also has to do with the fact that the Rise of the Villain Saga. I know quantity-wise, there's more arcs, but I think what hurt the Rise of the Villain Saga were a lot of like noticeable flaws that I started to notice with the internship arc, and then of course the biggest one being joint training arc. See, like, and I was talking to Blue about this the other day, but I feel like if you took out the joint training arc, yet somehow keep the whole six quirks thing, and if you alter the final fight of Overhaul and Deku, make it more impactful. I would even think, like, if you wanted to, like, maybe you could fix the pacing of everything in the internship arc when they get to the base. I wouldn't say it would be as good as the UA Beginning Saga, but I think it could have been close. But I feel like those two arcs in particular bring it down, and then of course you have everything with Redestro and the Meta Liberation Army arc, which is another point of contention when it comes to weaknesses for the Rise of the Villain Saga. So while it does have, like some really good story elements to it, like you guys said, it's more tightly written, and the characters, most of the characters are able to get, like, a decent amount of spotlight for sure. And that's why I think the UA Beginning Saga is not just the best, but also just my personal favorite out of the two. Having said that, though, what are your guys' predictions on the final saga? Which, like, technically we're already in the final saga. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm expecting it to last most of the second year and that stuff, while allowing for, I think, like I said a bit earlier, while Midoriya leaves, I think he will eventually join back with UA, but I think it'll probably be towards the end of the second year or the beginning of the third year, just because I feel like you probably might want to have a way of, like, Midoriya, Bakugou having one final fight, and it's probably going to be like the sports festival for the third year, where you have, like, Midoriya finally beating Bakugou in a fight.
Maybe.
And so that, at least just to conclude that bit of their rivalry and stuff, and maybe end it on a positive note. But yeah, I'm definitely thinking, let's see, but yeah, I'm hoping that Midoriya, like you, Lucky Cheese, stays out of UA for quite a bit, though I'm expecting after this first arc here where he's dealing with, like, a villain that, let's see, we all are familiar with. I'm not going to spoil for this podcast, but you can already look at the stream that the three of us did on my channel about a week back or so.
Yeah, just for the chapter. Yeah.
Yeah. Of who Midoriya is fighting.
Chapter.
Yeah. But I'm expecting, see, after this, we're probably gonna get a little bit of exploring of what going on with Midoriya, and then we're probably gonna get some stuff with the Class 1A, or now probably 2A, probably. Because they're no longer in the first year, they're now second year students. So I'm pretty much thinking that we're probably, for the most part, of course, going to focus on Midoriya, but I feel like we're going to see Koei also move back to, like, the main, like, Midoriya's classmates now and then. I'm expecting, like, Shinso to take Midoriya's place for Class 1A. Well, 2A now, probably.
Possibly.
Here's my thing. I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. I don't think you have Deku going back to the academy at all.
Okay.
Well, so that was one of your popular things to say.
So you think he's just going to be a one-year student, kind of like how Naruto's just a genin for, like, the majority of the story until, like...
Well, and I'm saying that that actually kind of goes back to what you just mentioned. We do know that Koei was pretty big on Naruto growing up, so I wouldn't put it past him to say that Deku doesn't go back to the academy at all to further, I guess, parallel to Naruto in that sense. But the scenario is different too, in that sense.
Well, yeah, let's see. The reason, let's see, for Naruto, there's more in terms of ranking, but yeah, for let's see, My Hero, it's school years, but yeah.
That's just my take, though. I think you find yourself in a more interesting scenario that way than just, I guess, go back. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to run into any of his old friends, because I'm sure that's going to happen. But
the one I'm most interested in is between him and Ochiko.
Yeah, I'll admit, that's one I'm looking forward to, too. Is that...
Other than that, I might be interested in, let's see, his reaction with Shinso, since he thought Midoriya was blessed with a really powerful quirk, but turns out he's been given it. As well as, like, let's see how Shoto will react to finally learning, okay, what the connection between him and All Might is.
If I had to take a guess on how long this final act could be, again, I'm just estimating here, and I could be totally wrong. I'll say, let's roughly say, maybe the same length as the UA Beginnings, so about like 10, 11 volumes at most.
So about 90 to 100 chapters, you're thinking?
I'm thinking.
That, of course, it really depends on
what... Which, if you look at his track record and see how he's structured things, it could actually very well fall in line with that.
I think it really depends on, like, how quickly, like, let's see, all the escaped villains are also dealt with.
What do you think, MangaReader? Like, what do you think will happen in this final act?
Well, I mean, there's what I expect, there's what I want, and obviously those things could probably diverge completely. What I want is, this is a very good opportunity to do some world building outside of whatever we've seen up to this point. What that world building is, I mean, it's only Japan, who knows, but I think they already mentioned that they probably are going to bring in some outside help because of from other heroes or from across the planet. So that could be potentially something either good or bad. Who knows? I would love to see if they actually do it instead of just kind of hinting at it and then never actually do it. If this is going to be the final one, I hope it's at least a year. I don't know how much you can accomplish in that, given what we've known up to this point, but I can only hope for the best.
Yeah.
How it ends is going to be interesting because, I mean, on the one hand, you could have it end on a positive note by having it, like, essentially be the Deku versus Bakugou rematch, if they even really need a rematch at this point or not. Or you could have it end on the heroic note.
I definitely think that Bakugou would request a rematch with Deku.
Well, knowing him, he would. But I mean,
or you have
the start of the manga, and you have literally the anime every time tell you that this is the story of how Deku became the greatest hero.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's not one of those silly little, I did this, but at what cost level of hero-dom. That would be kind of lame, given everything that's been set up. But I mean, it is on the table, considering he's the last user of...
I was going to say that, like, because I remember I brought this theory up to you a while back that, not that I think it's going to happen, but if that's the direction Koei wants to go in, it's possible.
Be it a symbolic hero, number one hero.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, is what you're saying. Yeah. Ugh, I would hate that ending. It's not that it's a bad ending. It's just, on the one hand, it's a cliche, and I usually will always make an argument that cliches are cliches because they work. Mm-hmm. But that's just a cliche that's kind of depressing on a happy note, because like on the one hand, yes, you accomplished what you wanted, but there's just no way to make it work in the long haul. But whatever.
I suppose one thing in terms of thing I'm probably expecting shipping wise is I'm expecting like Midoriya to get with Ochiko.
If he even wants it,
that's apparent though.
Yeah, I'm now wondering if like Denki and Jiro will get together after this arc, and maybe Red Riot and Pinky.
Well, it would be cool if he includes those moments, because I know while he's been including them, it hasn't been anything, arguably, in a romantic sense, whatever. But they do touch upon that. That'd be great.
Yeah. You know what'd be really funny is the next time we end up seeing some of these characters, we already see some of them going out with each other. It's like, okay, we've clearly missed.
I don't know if we're gonna do that necessarily.
Depends on how long. Depends on if the arc is gonna have it be like an actual a growth situation, or if it's literally just gonna be like a couple months, like it's been for every arc.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. There's only one way I think my whole theory works with the whole symbolic aspect of being the greatest hero is, again, with Deku being the last user. I think the only way this works is to say you have a final battle between him and Shigaraki, and the only way this whole cycle ends with both their powers is if somehow
they lose both one for all and all for one.
Yeah.
Like I said, it has been set up. It is a option at this point, so it's not like it can't happen. But it's not necessarily something I want.
Yeah. I think James also doesn't want that either. Okay,
but he's also hinted at that.
Yeah, he has.
And one thing, I'm not sure what Steve will fall, I think, but who knows. But yeah, one thing I'm also kind of curious, because I think this has been stated before, but I think one thing I think we should probably expect in this final saga is to finally meet Midoriya's father.
I don't know if that's even necessary or not.
Koei has said that he hasn't forgotten, and it's kind of a spoiler thing, so I have to wonder what it is.
Okay, it's clear that he has something planned with it.
He's a villain! He became a villain!
He went to that. He went out for the longest time. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it is.
No. The only other thing I was going to say is he went to the hyperbolic time chamber, or whatever was it the Denkai for Bleach or whatever?
I forget, but yeah, I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, the place where time goes by slower or faster, essentially, at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Actually goes by faster, because it's like you can, in a single day, you get an entire year. So it's like, what the hell? That's where he went. That's where he's been the whole time. He's just been in the area where he can train for life. What? His mom had the ability to levitate small objects, is what it was, and his father had
can breathe fire, from what I can tell.
Could breathe fire. Yeah.
Yeah, that's essentially the gist of what it is.
Yeah.
So
I don't see him being a villain, but
so Midoriya's
something is somewhere.
So Midoriya's either going to get a quirk like his father or mother if he wasn't quirkless, or a combination of the both.
That would be interesting. I'm not gonna lie.
Be able to move fire.
Firebending?
That would have been so cool. Now that I thought about it,
I guess you could say Midoriya could control fire. He could move it to his direction. He'd breathe it out.
Yeah.
And he's a firebender.
He's a firebender. That would have been so cool.
I don't know if we're gonna get this, and this is a super super wild prediction I'm gonna throw out there.
Uh-huh.
What are the chances we get the protagonist from Vigilante show up in the final saga?
It's not unlikely, but I don't know how far into the was it like I don't remember how many years.
Vigilante is when it starts off, from what I remember. It was like 5 years away before 5 or 4. I think it was like, I know it's within the time frame, and I think right now in the story without me going into specifics.
Uh-huh.
I think it's currently 1 year off from when the main story starts. So it's... I guess it's...
It could happen. I could
Yeah.
see...
Well, it's
Is he
fair.
in charge?
Warrior is technically going in a more vigilante route, so who knows? He could technically interact with them.
I'm just wondering, is he the one that's writing the spin-off, or is it someone else writing
No,
the
someone
spin-off?
else is writing the spin-off, but there have been a lot of cues and story
I was going to
beats
say,
from My Hero that-
is he kind of...
I believe it's one of
is
his
he acknowledging? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Like,
so it's not unlikely.
yeah. I mean, the two
It
biggest
might not
examples.
happen, but it's not unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, the two biggest examples I can think of, again, without going into super specifics, is they have one little reference to the drug that Overhaul used, and then something with Stain.
Yeah, well, yeah, Stain was literally the only character that I know of that's been any of relevancy between the two.
Mhm.
And you do get a little bit of Shirakumo in Vigilantes also.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and definitely Aizawa play a role for sure.
Yep. That's cool.
Mm.
Yeah, it could happen. I don't know. I mean, it would be cool. I don't know if it would be ambiguous or not, if it did happen or not. I think it would be kind of interesting if they could tie it in somehow.
Yeah, because I know some people like to write it off as, oh, it's not canon. I'm like, but I mean,
Well, we literally got Itzy Ayazawa's school friend, Itzy, revealed to be Koagiri, so...
and people thought I was crazy when I made that post. They were like, no, there's no way they would ever show his friend in Vigilantes, and then it's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Whoa!
It appeared a lot sooner than we expected.
Whoa! Yeah.
Although, I'd probably say the only reason why we probably haven't gotten anything of the protagonist from Vigilantes is because it's, as far as what I know right now, it's in its final arc. So I know that's wrapping up. So I think they're probably waiting to see how that goes before anything.
It could be.
Yeah. For all we know, as soon as Midoriya is defeated with the Muscular, he goes and meets the Vigilantes.
Joins up with them as a hero.
Imagine the week Vigilantes ends. The following My Hero chapter comes out. Wait, where did you just... Oh, okay, I see what... Yeah, y'all planned this.
You planned!
Well, actually, now that I think about it, I think the Shirakumo chapter showed up in Vigilantes before we got like a couple weeks before we got that revelation that Korigiri was. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's not. I can't think that's too much of a stretch to think that they could do the same thing.
So yeah. Anyway, for my thoughts, I mean, it could go any. I don't want it to go the direction it could go. I mean, it's now officially been set up
that it could go in that direction. Yeah,
it could go in that direction. It's like, no, please do not. I know you're tempted, but you can end this by ending the cycle the other way. I think we made our point.
Yeah, I think so. If anything, I think the great hero just means that, yeah, we just see Deku as, well, Deku.
Yeah,
right.
The traditional stories, superhero story, which I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
I like that kind of thing. Aside from that, you guys, that's pretty much it. Blue Star Manga Reader, it's been great chatting about My Hero with you guys again after a while, especially with an arc as crazy as this, and an overall wrap up to the Rise of the Villain saga as a whole.
Oh God.
Yep. And now we're on the final saga. About dang time, if you ask me, but hey.
I give it
Finally
2
there.
max. 2. So 2022, 2023. And then no more My Hero. Maybe My Hero Life? Maybe?
We'll just have to wait and see, Lucky Chi.
Anyway, I'm BlueStarSaber.
I'm Lucky Chi.
Yep, I'm MangaReader. Oops.
And Plus Ultra.